Chapter 707. Roar. When East Unicorn Ghost Emperor waved his arm, there was a faint roar of a holy beast. The scales on his arm stood up and transformed into an iron arm covered with holy beast armor. Was he going to block Lin Muyu's crazy attack with his flesh and blood? Bang! Flames splashed in all directions, and Lin Muyu's arms were numb from the impact. The power that came from the East Unicorn Ghost Thearcha's iron arm was not ordinary, but what surprised him was that the East Unicorn Ghost the Arch also took a few steps back. It seemed like the East Unicorn Ghost Thearcha's power wasn't as strong as he imagined, at least not as terrifying as the god Thearcha's cultivation. The second attack came in an instant. Lin Muyu's figure flashed like lightning, carrying the vast frost divine power. It was the jade snow frost of the star art. Hiss! The surrounding air seemed to have solidified, and East Unicorn Ghost Emperor, who bore the brunt of the attack, naturally had it worse. His whole body was covered with a thick layer of frost. He was actually frozen by Lin Muyu's attack. Good chance. Lin Muyu raised her arm abruptly, and her sharp sword turned into a fiery light as it shot forward. With the increase in her cultivation, Lin Muyu only needed a second to condense the dragon flame spiral break. Her stellar sword turned into a blazing flame as it shot towards Dong Lin's heart. However, at this moment, the Nether Spring Ghost Book in East Unicorn Ghost Emperor's hand suddenly flipped. Azure light shone endlessly, and the frost on his body broke apart. The moment he broke out of the ice, he saw the star's sword flying towards him. He directly opened his palm that was covered in green scales and grabbed the blade of the sword. He growled, "You want to kill this emperor with just you?" Clang, clang, clang. The flying blade slashed on the scales on his finger, and sparks constantly sputtered. East Unicorn Ghost Emperor suddenly clenched his fist and forcibly grabbed the blade. But at this moment, a strong wind came from his waist. It was Lin Muyu's sudden attack. The mighty fist wind, carrying the seven luminaries' profound energy, blasted on the waist of East Unicorn Ghost Emperor. Chaos of all life. Bang! The fist was overbearing and powerful, but it seemed to not cause too much damage to East Unicorn Ghost Emperor. Instead, East Unicorn raised his palm and fell towards Lin Muyu's back. Ghost Emperor's unique skill, heaven-devouring green Qilin. However, the speed at which Dong Lin's palm was descending was obviously much slower than she had imagined. This was the result of being hit by the soul-vanquishing curse. It was also this delay of almost 0.1 seconds that allowed Lin Muyu to escape the calamity. She dodged the attack but didn't leave. Instead, she flew around Dong Lin Ghost Emperor like a gust of wind. She grabbed the hilt of the star's sword and pulled it outwards. Using the momentum, she rapidly approached Dong Lin Ghost Emperor. Her knee was filled with supreme divine power as she struck Dong Lin Ghost Emperor's chin with her knee. Bastard! East Unicorn Ghost Emperor was one of the overlords of the ghost domain. He had always relied on his strength to speak. If they were to exchange blows, then they would exchange blows. It was fair and square to see who could kill who with the stronger move. When had he ever participated in such a close combat between God Realm experts? And this Lin Muyu in front of him was fighting completely shamelessly, without the slightest dignity of a supreme god. Bang! Lin Muyu hit East Unicorn's chin with her knee, but his chin was also covered by green Qilin scales. Instead, it was Lin Muyu's knee that felt intense pain. Get lost! East Unicorn Ghost Emperor roared, and his fist landed on the dragon blood shield on Lin Muyu's arm. Bang! With just a single strike, Lin Muyu fell to the barren ground like a cannonball, smashing into the sky with a cloud of dust. Amidst the coughing sounds, he struggled to stand up from the deep pit with the help of his long sword. He actually coughed out blood. His arm was still pulsing with the impact of East Unicorn Ghost Thearcha's 99 ghostly chi waves. The god the Arch was indeed powerful. Just one punch was enough to injure him. The East Unicorn Ghost Emperor held the Nether Spring Ghost Book in his right hand and formed a fist with his left hand. He descended from the sky with a vast divine power and went straight for Lin Muyu. I can't fight him head-on, I can only dodge. Lin Muyu's feet shook, and she flashed past with falling star step. She was a ruler, and her movement on the ground was just enough to lure the Ghost Emperor to the ground. Seeing Lin Muyu's ingenious footwork leaving, East Unicorn Ghost Emperor's fist directly landed on the ground, and a huge pit was blasted out with a loud bang. However, his arm suddenly felt cold, and Lin Muyu grabbed his wrist. Taking advantage of the fact that the power of the fist hadn't been completely used up, Lin Muyu threw East Unicorn Ghost Emperor out with force. Boom! East Unicorn never expected that he would be hit like this. His entire body was smashed into the soil that had been decaying for hundreds of thousands of years, and his face was bruised and swollen. It was a complete mess, and when he turned around angrily, he saw the blazing sun in Lin Muyu's palm. Oh no! East Unicorn Ghost Emperor could naturally feel the biting cold energy of the purple sun falling to the ground, and he didn't say much. He opened his palm, and the Nether Spring Ghost Book flipped rapidly, absorbing the power of the ghosts within, and roared, "Nether Curse!" A faint purple circular array was held in East Unicorn Ghost Emperor's palm, and it flew towards the purple sun. It was like a nuclear explosion, and it exploded with the two of them at the center. The purple sun falling to the ground actually didn't gain any advantage against the secret technique of the Nether Spring Ghost Book. Lin Muyu's left arm was blasted into a bloody mess, and her injuries weren't light. East Unicorn Ghost Emperor also took a few steps back. He had never experienced such a desperate attack before. Swish! A wind swept past, and East Unicorn Ghost Emperor felt his left hand being grabbed by someone. It was this kid again, and his speed was too fast. An irresistible force came from his arm, and East Unicorn Ghost Emperor actually couldn't control his body. His body suddenly spun, and he was smashed heavily into the ruins. Shoulder throw! East Unicorn Ghost Emperor's face was covered in dirt, and he roared with open arms. God power instantly exploded out. Since he wasn't a match for Lin Muyu in close combat, then he might as well use absolute strength to crush this kid. It was a pity that East Unicorn Ghost Emperor was hit by the spirit vanquishing curse, and he only had 20% of his god power left. Even if he was stronger than Lin Muyu, he wasn't much stronger. But it just so happened that Lin Muyu was like a fish in water when she landed on the ground. At this moment, Lin Muyu's emotions seemed to be boiling, and she had completely entered the realm of close combat. East Unicorn Ghost Emperor wasn't familiar with close combat, and this would become his weakness today. Rustle, rustle. A blood-red rope suddenly swept out from the ground and firmly tied East Unicorn Ghost Emperor up. It was the spirit-binding rope, the treasure of Sobbing Blood Ghost Emperor. This, East Unicorn was dumbfounded. Isn't this the treasure of Sobbing Blood Ghost? Why is it in your hands? Don't worry about it. Lin Muyu passed by, and a fist with the 5 elements 8 Desolation Annihilation landed on East Unicorn Ghost Emperor's abdomen. The punch made East Unicorn Ghost Emperor dizzy, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Lin Muyu continued to attack, and with the help of the spirit-binding rope, she kept attacking East Unicorn Ghost Emperor. Straight punch. Swing punch. Uppercut. Whip kick. Side kick. Downward chop. Shoulder throw. Reverse back throw. Connecting leg throw. By the time Lin Muyu finished a set of boxing moves, East Unicorn Ghost Emperor was already on the verge of death. Although Lin Muyu's moves looked simple, every move contained the divine wave of the 20th Heaven Grotto Heaven, and East Unicorn Ghost Emperor didn't even have the strength to fight back. Rustle, rustle. East Unicorn lay on the ground, and the scales on the surface of his skin were even starting to crumble. This was the result of his defense collapsing. "I want you to die," Dong Unicorn roared, and his 5 fingers opened up rapidly. A green cyclone danced wildly. Finally, this Ghost Emperor was going to use his trump card. But Lin Muyu didn't give East Unicorn Ghost Emperor any chance to fight back. She suddenly spun around, and the sky suddenly darkened. Stars fell into her palm, and shockingly, it was the powerful and unyielding 7th element. "Stop resisting immediately," Lin Muyu said indifferently. "Dream on," Dong Unicorn shouted. He had never been humiliated like this before. "Then don't regret it," Lin Muyu shouted, and a palm shot out from above. 7 elements stars transformation. Countless stars fell down like meteors, bombarding Dong Lin's protective astral energy in a chaotic manner. In just an instant, the astral energy was pierced through, and in the next moment, the densely packed stars bombarded Dong Lin's body. Peng, ping, ping. The entire netherworld world trembled, and countless stars fell from the sky, as if they were going to destroy this nirvana world. Peng. Outside the spring, a group of abyssal prefects and ghost generals were standing guard. All of a sudden, a loud explosion rang out from the spring. Purple spring water shot up into the sky, accompanied by streaks of stars. The stars pierced through the plane and crashed into the 18th level of hell, shattering it in the blink of an eye. The newly repaired wall of the plane had to be repaired again. What? The group of official lords was dumbfounded. Could it be that this is the aftermath of that brat Lin Muyu's attack in the netherworld spring? Who knows, but His Majesty the Ghost Emperor will definitely kill that brat. There's no doubt about that. Ghost Emperor Dong Unicorn is invincible in the ghost domain. At this moment, the gloomy Ghost Emperor Dong Unicorn was lying on the desolate ground of the Nirvana world. His body was bombarded into a sieve by the 7 glorious stars transformation. If it wasn't for the Ghost Emperor's body, he would have been turned into ashes. Lin Muyu wasn't any better. Not to mention the backlash of the 7 glorious stars transformation, every attack of his would be automatically countered by Ghost Emperor Dong Unicorn's 99 heavenly abode waves. In fact, his injuries were no less than Dong Unicorn's. But he couldn't be weak. If Dong Unicorn saw through his lack of divine power, it would be terrible. The backlash of the 7 glorious stars transformation would last for 10 minutes, and these 10 minutes were too important for Lin Muyu. Sha. Lin Muyu grabbed Ghost Emperor Dong Unicorn's armor collar, lifted him like a little chick, and flew to the top of a netherworld spring. Lin Muyu acted like he was going to throw him down. Let's talk this out. Ghost Emperor Dong Unicorn's voice was actually a bit resentful. You didn't mention any conditions and just killed me like this. Isn't this against the rules of the pugilistic world? So you're also afraid of death? Lin Muyu smiled and said, if you want to live, then bring me away from the netherworld spring. Sure. There's one more condition. What condition? Lin Muyu's gaze landed on the netherworld ghost book in Dong Unicorn's arms. This definitely won't do. The netherworld ghost book is the treasure of the netherworld spring. I can't give it to you. Lin Muyu didn't say anything and just loosened her pinky and ring fingers. Let's talk this out. Don't fight and kill so easily. Seriously, you have such a bad temper. Actually, it's not that I can't give the netherworld ghost book to someone, but you have to promise me something. Say it. You can't mention anything that happened in the netherworld spring to anyone. This is a gentleman's agreement between us. If you promise, the netherworld ghost book is yours. Okay, I promise you. Lin Muyu finally heaved a sigh of relief. Since Ghost Emperor Dong Unicorn was willing to mention this condition, it meant that she was really safe. Chapter 708. Gurgle, gurgle. Bubbles suddenly appeared on the mirror-like nether spring. In the blink of an eye, it turned blood red. Accompanied by the ripples of the bubbles, a passage appeared as if the water surface was cut open. 2 figures walked out one after another. The one in front was East Unicorn Ghost Emperor, and the one behind was Lin Muyu. Immediately, the group of official lords and ghost dragon leaders were dumbfounded. Lin Muyu was still alive. This was unbelievable. What made East Unicorn Ghost Emperor show such kindness? Greetings, Your Majesty. The official lords knelt together, which was equivalent to kneeling to Lin Muyu, who was beside East Unicorn Ghost Emperor. An official lord raised his head and asked in confusion, Your Majesty, Lin Muyu trespassed into the nether spring and disturbed the rules of the 3 realms. Why did Your Majesty let him go? East Unicorn Ghost Emperor's face was enshrouded in a faint light. This was a kind of concealment technique. Without this light, East Unicorn Ghost Emperor's beaten face would be seen. Moreover, he silently circulated his strength and found that although the seal on the divine power in his body had been partially unlocked, he still couldn't use most of his power. With his current power, he still wasn't confident of winning against Lin Muyu. Therefore, he took a deep breath and said with bright eyes, Lin Muyu broke through the 12 worlds of the Nether Spring and saw through the mortal world. I am very appreciative of him, so I decided to exempt him this time. You don't have to ask anymore. How can a genius like him be killed? He should be nurtured for the benefit of the 3 realms. On the side, Lin Muyu lowered her voice and said, Send me out of the ghost realm. East Unicorn Ghost Emperor gritted his teeth in hatred, but there was nothing he could do. He could only say in a clear voice, I will send him out of the ghost realm now. You all still need to guard the Nether Spring here. Do not be negligent, understand? Yes, Your Majesty. East Unicorn looked at Lin Muyu, and the two flew up side by side and went straight to the world above. While flying, East Unicorn said in a low voice, Lin Muyu, don't go too far. At least give me face in front of my subordinates. This is our agreement, isn't it? Haven't I already given you enough face? Lin Muyu placed his hands behind his back and lazily let out a sigh of relief. After knowing that Qin Yin had reincarnated once again, his mood was indescribably good. As long as Qin Yin was still alive, he could wait for thousands of years. He was only afraid that Qin Yin's spirit would vanish into thin air and he would never be able to find her again. Is this considered giving enough face? East Unicorn Ghost Emperor continued to express his dissatisfaction. You didn't even kneel down to me. Don't forget that I'm the supreme being of the ghost realm. You're just a scattered god. What right do you have to be on equal footing with me? Lin Muyu raised her brows and said bluntly, a loser wants me to kneel before you? Dream on. Dong Lin, if I really don't give you face, I'll immediately hire 10,000 storytellers to divide the story of your defeat into 24 chapters and 48 sections. Then I'll narrate it on the bridge for 3 days and 3 nights, letting everyone in the 3 realms know of your glorious deeds. Damn, aren't you too ruthless? East Unicorn Ghost Emperor's heart skipped a beat. If that was really the case, his reputation would be ruined. How could he still have the face to be one of the 3 supreme beings of the ghost realm in the future? Lin Muyu was slightly proud of herself. This time, she had finally grabbed Dong Lin's weak point. This guy was willing to suffer for his reputation. As long as she had this weakness, she wouldn't have to be afraid of him for the rest of her life. Thinking of this, Lin Muyu continued leisurely, but don't worry. After I return to the Shattered Cauldron realm, although I will tell some people that I defeated you, they will definitely keep their mouths shut. But you have to remember, if you continue to be overbearing, this matter will definitely spread throughout the 3 realms. East Unicorn Ghost Emperor was like a deflated balloon. He lost his temper and said, Then what do you want? You have to take good care of everyone who passed away in the Shattered Cauldron Realm Empire. Don't let them enter the 18 levels of hell. Don't let them enter the Nether Spring or the Soul Refining Pool. Do you understand? Got it? You're really troublesome. Dong Lin said coldly. Anyway, it's fine as long as you understand. Lin Muyu smiled secretly. She saw East Unicorn Ghost Emperor with his hands behind his back. After a sharp scream, he actually pierced through the sky. A blood-colored passageway went straight to the surface of the Yellow Springs. It was like a VIP passageway for Ghost Emperors. The 2 of them walked out in a line and easily passed through the 18 levels of hell. Greetings, Your Majesty East Unicorn Ghost Emperor. Around them, thousands of ghost generals and ghost soldiers knelt together. Even Mengpa knelt down politely. This old one greets Your Majesty Ghost Emperor. Dong Lin's expression was calm. He said, Mengpa, on the Wheel of Time, how long until the plain entrance to the Shattered Cauldron Realm opens? Mengpa counted with her fingers. In an hour, it will be midnight in the Shattered Cauldron Realm. At that time, the Ghost Gate will naturally open. East Unicorn Ghost Emperor raised his eyebrows. Lin Muyu, I will send you here. I hope that you will behave yourself in the future. Don't forget our agreement. Do you understand? Thank you, Your Majesty Ghost Emperor Dong Lin. This time, Lin Muyu took 2 steps back and bowed with cupped fists. She was very respectful. East Unicorn Ghost Emperor couldn't help but feel proud. Although this kid had the disposition of a paragon, he seemed to be quite polite. He was really a promising talent. Not long after, East Unicorn Ghost Emperor's body sank into the ground. Under Meng Po's lead, Lin Muyu came to the entrance of a nest in the swamp. If she wanted to return to the Shattered Cauldron realm, she had to pass through this place at a specific time. Otherwise, she would probably have to leap to another plane. Actually, Lin Muyu could also pass through space. However, this was the ghost domain. It was too far away from the mortal world. If she made a mistake, she would fly into another space. Time couldn't be wasted, so it was better not to waste time. 1 hour was neither long nor short. Meng Po, who was at the side, wanted to say something but stopped herself. She looked like she wanted to chat about family matters, but Lin Muyu was really not interested. She held the star's sword and stood there arrogantly. Brat, what are you being arrogant for? You're just like that Tang Xiaoxi. I'm so angry. Meng Po muttered softly. Lin Muyu's hearing was very strong. Naturally, she heard every word. She couldn't help but ask in surprise, Meng Po, what did you say? Tang Xiaoxi also came to the ghost domain? Yes, what do you think? Meng Po said angrily, that damned girl killed hundreds of ghost soldiers on the surface of the underworld and made a mess in the 18 levels of hell. Finally, she rescued Qin Yin's soul from the soul refining pool and sent it into the reincarnation well. I really don't know what the 5 ghost emperors were thinking. They let this damned girl leave the ghost domain alive. It's so unbelievable. Lin Muyu was dumbfounded. He had been going back and forth in the ghost domain, but he didn't know that Tang Xiaoxi had done such a big thing in the ghost domain. It seemed that it was all thanks to Tang Xiaoxi. Otherwise, Qin Yin wouldn't have been reincarnated so easily. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Men couldn't understand the friendship between women, just like women couldn't understand the affection between men. Tang Xiaoxi killed her way into the ghost domain to save Qin Yin. It could be considered that she had repaid the debt of killing Qin Yin in Bailing City when her mind was controlled by Yaoji. The ghost domain is so dangerous. Why did she sneak in alone? Lin Muyu frowned and said softly, what a silly girl. Meng Po slammed her fist on the ground, causing the surroundings to tremble. She said indifferently, can you not be so lovey-dovey in front of me? What I hate the most is the harmony between the zither and the harp. It's so disgusting that I have goosebumps all over my body. Lin Muyu glanced at her and said, that's right. With your honor, I don't think you can survive in this world where looks are the most important. What did you say? You don't want to go back to the broken cauldron world? Meng Po's voice became cold. Lin Muyu hurriedly smiled and said, Io, Sister Meng Po, what are you talking about? Actually, when it comes to women, we have to look at their temperament. Some women don't have beauty, but their charm and charm are engraved in their bones. Just like you. Really? Meng Po's heart thumped as she winked. Lin Muyu covered her mouth to stop herself from vomiting. She nodded repeatedly, yes, yes, yes. Why hasn't this bastard opened the ghost gate yet? It's about to open. Little sweetheart, don't be in such a hurry. Mother asterisk her. Lin Muyu cursed in her heart. 10 miles southeast of Heaven Connect City, in the mass grave. The cold wind swept across the land. The mass grave was already covered in a thick layer of snow. Although it was snowing heavily, one could still vaguely see the flickering light of torches. A group of generals wearing the leather robes of the empire stood guard here. Under a towering poplar tree, Tang Xiaoxi stood there quietly. Snowflakes fell on her cheeks and eyelashes, melting rapidly. The snow grew heavier and heavier, but Tang Xiaoxi remained unmoved. It had already been half a month since she left the ghost domain, but Lin Muyu had yet to return. This proved that Lin Muyu had already been in the Nether Spring for more than half a month. Rustle, rustle, Wei Chou walked over with Sidu Sin, Sidu Shui, and Bai Yin. He cupped his fists and said, Princess Shi, it's snowing so heavily tonight. Why don't you stop waiting? It'll be bad if you get sick from the cold. We'll stay here and wait for His Highness King Qin. No, I'm not going back. Tang Xiaoxi shook her head. She felt that it was a little rude to say this, so she added, I won't know what to do if I go back and face an empty courtyard alone. Duke Wei, you don't have to worry about me. I won't get sick from the cold. Then all right. Wei Chou nodded and didn't say anything else. Not long after, There was a sudden crack in the snow. A flash of lightning flashed, and the plane's wall was torn open. Tang Xiaoxi hurriedly looked over. She saw a figure shuttling out. It was Ouyang Yen, who was wearing a pure white fur robe. She pursed her lips and smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry to have surprised everyone for nothing. I'm here to wait for Her Highness Lin Muyu." Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but feel very disappointed. She really wanted to beat her up. But before Tang Xiaoxi could dispel this idea, there was suddenly another flash of lightning behind Ouyang Yen, and a handsome figure flew out. The powerful impact of penetrating the wall of the plane made him involuntarily lean forward a few steps, and with a pa sound, he knocked Ouyang Yen to the ground. Lin Muyu said blankly, "It's snowing? It's so cold. Why are there so many people? Xiaoxi, you're here too. Who did I knock into just now?" Tang Xiaoxi suppressed the excitement in her heart. She was so happy that she almost cried. It was great to see him come back alive. Ouch! On the snowy ground, Ouyang Yen held her perky and slowly stood up. She said, "Your Highness, you used too much force, and the angle was wrong. You really are a virgin who doesn't know anything. Pure yang body, no wonder you're so good at cultivation." Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi, Wei Chou. Chapter 709. Everyone is here? Lin Muyu brushed off the snow on his shoulders and said with a smile. He was still wearing autumn clothes, but it was already winter. "Come." Sidu Shui was meticulous. She took a leather robe embroidered with golden purple flowers from the servant and handed it to Lin Muyu. She said with a smile, "Madam, put it on. It's winter again this year. Although you are a God-state cultivator, you still need clothes to keep out the cold." "Thank you, Ashue." Lin Muyu accepted it gladly. She turned around and put on the robe. It was indeed much warmer. Everyone stood in the same place happily. Only Tang Xiaoxi stood alone in the snow. She still didn't know how to face Lin Muyu, and the knot in Lin Muyu's heart had not been untied. But it was different this time. "Let's go back to Heaven Connect City?" Lin Muyu touched her stomach and said, "I haven't had a good meal in the ghost domain for almost a month. Shouldn't you have prepared delicious food to entertain me?" Wei Chou chuckled, "Your Highness, rest assured. Every night at midnight, General Shui ordered the Spiritual Fire Department to prepare a table of good dishes. It's just that Your Highness didn't come back until today. That table of good dishes has been taken advantage of by us. Let's go." Lin Muyu walked straight out of the forest. When she passed by Tang Xiaoxi, she inadvertently held her hand and whispered, "Why are you still in a daze? Let's go back and eat something delicious." Tang Xiaoxi was happy and puzzled. She let Lin Muyu hold her hand. "The scenery of the ghost domain is not bad, right?" Lin Muyu suddenly asked. "It's all right. How is Xiaoyin now?" Tang Xiaoxi hesitated for a moment and said, "She asked me to tell you that you have to take good care of yourself and wait for her to come back. Mumu, you don't blame me?" Lin Muyu turned around and smiled. She looked straight at her and said, "Ouyang Yen told me that you were bewitched by Yaoji and killed Xiaoyin. I don't blame you. Now that you have saved Xiaoyin's life, I can't thank you enough. Now, you are still Tang Xiaoxi and I am still Lin Muyu. Let's wait for Xiaoyin to come back. Before she comes back, we have to work together to protect this family." A smile appeared on Tang Xiaoxi's face. A huge stone had finally been lifted from her heart. This was the first time she had smiled so happily since she had returned from the devil race. Lin Muyu squeezed her hand tightly. All this while, Tang Xiaoxi had been under a lot of pressure. How could he not know that? In fact, Tang Xiaoxi's life was even more difficult than his. Now that there was finally hope, he hoped that everything could return to the good old days. What is Xiaoyin's next reincarnation? Lin Muyu mounted the horse and asked. Tang Xiaoxi rode another white horse and said, "Azura Path." "Azura Path?" "Yes." "What is Azura?" "Hunters who walk in the three realms. They are neither human nor ghost nor god. The 5 ghost emperors said that Azura is good and bad. They are born to hunt." "I see." Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "What comes after the Azura Path?" "The last reincarnation, the Heavenly Tao. As long as Xiao Yin survives the Heavenly Tao, she'll be able to form a true body of flesh and blood and return to the three realms. Tang Xiaoxi was moved. But the 5 ghost emperors also said that Xiao Yin will forget the past, whether it's the Azura path or the Heavenly Tao. This is her own cultivation, and no one else can control it. I understand. Lin Muyu clenched his fists. All these years he'd been forced to do things against his will. Although he had the disposition of a supreme being, there were too many things he couldn't control. This was probably fate. Some things were destined to go with the flow, and couldn't be forced. Skyspan City, King Qin's mansion. It was brightly lit and bustling. Almost all the commanders and captaincy generals in the Longdan army camp were present. Even the administrative officials of Skyspan Province and Lingdong Province were gathered to celebrate the return of Lin Muyu, the king of Qin. Lin Muyu didn't drink. He only ate meat. He was one person short of eating a deer. Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Yao just watched him eat with smiles on their faces. This was also a form of enjoyment for them. Xiao Shi, I brought you a gift. Oh, what is it? Lin Muyu took out a book from her cosmos sack with a swoosh. It was a black ancient book, and its surface was enshrouded with a faint ghostly aura. Lin Muyu moved her fingers lightly, and the pages of the book flipped open. The azure blue light was dense, and immediately, a chill spread out in the originally warm and harmonious main hall. Everyone looked over at the same time, and they were all dumbfounded. Well, what is this? Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. Lin Muyu said, This is the Ghost Book of Nether Springs. I got it from the Ghost Emperor of East Unicorn. It's an extremely and soft magic tool, and also a type of weapon. However, my physique isn't suitable for using this book, so take a look. If you like it, I'll give it to you. As long as you use it properly, the Ghost Book of Nether Springs can greatly increase your strength. Tang Xiaoxi reached out and touched the pages of the book. Immediately, a powerful yin qi surrounded her palm. She couldn't help but cry out in surprise. She immediately transformed into her 9-tailed form. With a swish, raging flames flew up, and a pair of golden eyes stared at the Ghost Book of Nether Springs. Tang Xiaoxi's fingers were wrapped in raging flames, and she resisted the yin qi in the book. Could something have happened? Chu Yao was forced back several meters, and she looked on worriedly. Lin Muyu shook her head and said confidently, This is Xiao Shi and the Ghost Book of Nether Springs communicating. Chu Yao was doubtful. Tang Xiaoxi looked like she was about to fight. How could there be such a communication? But in reality, Tang Xiaoxi was indeed communicating with the Ghost Book of Nether Springs with a kind of power. This was a process of recognizing its master. If Tang Xiaoxi's godly power wasn't enough to make the Ghost Book of Nether Springs submit, then she would lose the right to use the book. As a result, the raging flames became more and more biting cold. Even a fiery red spirit pearl of law danced around Tang Xiaoxi's body. She actually took out a spirit pearl of law. Lin Muyu was secretly shocked. After not seeing her for a long time, Tang Xiaoxi's strength seemed to have increased a lot. Ouyang Yen and Chu Chu both said that only the first 3 grades of Godhead could condense Spirit Pearl of Law. It seemed like Tang Xiaoxi's Godhead had already broken through to the caste Immortal Godhead. Finally, after about 10 minutes, the light of the Ghost Book of Nether Springs began to dim. Small beads of sweat appeared on Tang Xiaoxi's forehead. She quickly closed the Ghost Book of Nether Springs and put it into the spatial bag at her waist. She said with a smile, Thank you, Mu, I like this gift very much. It's good that you like it. Lin Muyu sat down again as if nothing had happened. Wei Chou, Chu Yao, Sidu Sen, and the others were a little speechless. Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi's cultivation was far beyond their reach. These 2 freakishly strong fellows' casual words perhaps represented a realm that they would never be able to reach in their entire lives. At this time, Chu Yao said softly, Half a month ago, Lanyan City sent a letter saying that they found a descendant of the 7 Seas Tang sect. That person's name is Tang Zong, the illegitimate son of the 7 Seas king, Tang Lan's second son, Tang Jing. He is Tang Bin and Tang Lu's half-brother, and will be conferred the title of Northern Duke in 5 days. Yen and Suyu wrote that if you can make it, it's best if you bring Xiaoxi back to Lanyan City to participate in the conferring ceremony. After all, as the king of Qin, you should be present. So, Big Brother Feng will also return to Lanyan City in 5 days? Lin Muyu asked with a smile. Chu Yao nodded vigorously. That's great, I also happen to have a gift for him. Lin Muyu said excitedly. But Chu Yao's beautiful eyes revealed a trace of disappointment. Lin Muyu saw it clearly and hurriedly said with a smile, Big Sister Chu Yao, I risked my life this time because I really don't have time to go shopping and buy gifts for you because most of the gifts I brought back are bloody. I believe you don't want them either, Chu Yao chuckled. I'm very happy that you have this kind of heart. By the way, where's Grandpa Chu Chu? He went into the mountains to collect herbs these 2 days. You don't have to worry about him. Just go and do your thing. Lin Muyu looked at the crowd and said, How is everyone these days? Sidusan cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, I haven't made any progress in the cultivation of star tactics. I hope Your Highness can take some time to teach me. No problem. Where's Wei Chou? Wei Chou said happily, Your Highness, I've stepped into the sanctuary realm under Chu's guidance. Great, that's great. Lin Muyu slapped her thigh and said, All of you need to step into the sanctuary realm soon. I don't want to be in my 20s while all of you are doddering old men. That would make me very sad. Everyone laughed loudly. At this time, Lin Muyu thought of something and said, Wei Chou, I have a demon god divinity here. If you don't mind, I can help you refine this divinity and start to nurture the divine power in your body to speed up your cultivation. But there will be a certain degree of danger. Are you willing? Wei Chou was overjoyed and he cupped his fists and said, I'll listen to Your Highness's arrangements. Great. Lin Muyu's idea was very simple. It was the method used by the 7 luminaries demon emperor back then. She injected a strand of divine power into a mortal's body. As long as the mortal's body could withstand it, the divine power would be very beneficial and could even help him step into the immortal state in advance. At night, the side hall was filled with a piercingly cold light. Lin Muyu took out her treasure cauldron and started refining the demon god divinity. The demon god divinity was roughly the same grade as the heavenly Dao divinity. It wasn't too strong, but with Lin Muyu's supremacy divinity, it was definitely able to suppress it. Although the refining process was difficult, it was still a success. When the sun rose, the demon god divinity had already dissipated. More than 70% of the divine power was lost. Close to 10% of the divine power was absorbed by Wei Chou and the remaining 20% was refined by Lin Muyu. When the sun rose, Wei Chou sat cross-legged on the ground. He could already guide the divine power to circulate in his body. Lin Muyu clenched her fists and waves of energy surged through her body. A total of 21 heavenly caves. So she had also broken through to the 21st heavenly cave realm. The cultivation of the immortal state couldn't be rushed. The right path was to improve bit by bit. Many thanks, Your Highness. Wei Chou opened his eyes and said with a face full of joy. There was a hidden divine light in his eyes. You're welcome. Lin Muyu kept the treasure cauldron and suddenly asked, Wei Chou, how is the matter of building a naval fleet going? I and the Navy Commander Bailey Tsong are already working on it. However, building a shipyard costs too much money. So for the time being, the shipyard in Lanyan City is only building warships. Please rest assured, Your Highness, there won't be any battles on the sea for the time being. Those clowns from Iha Nation are not a threat at all. Don't be negligent. We must build a naval fleet that can sweep across the sea as soon as possible. Yes. Lin Muyu didn't know why she always wanted to build a naval fleet, but she just couldn't feel at ease. She had a feeling that the current Imperial Navy was like the Northern Seas Navy. Once a new enemy appeared on the sea, the Imperial Navy would not be able to withstand a single blow. Chapter 710. 3 days later, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi set off for Lanyan City with light luggage. Both of them were god-level experts, and with their ability to fly and travel, they could rush back to Lanyan City in a day. Ouyang Yen wanted to come along, but Lin Muyu forced her to stay in Heaven Connect City. Heaven Connect City needed a god-level expert to guard it. After all, the demon race's strength was still there, so they couldn't afford to neglect it. At dusk, the forest outside Lanyan City had already lost all its leaves. It was barren, and the scene of old trees and crows could not help but make one sigh with emotion. Years passed. This city was like an old man that had experienced the vicissitudes of life, still standing there. It was just that the people had changed. Qin Jin, Chu Huaying, Qin Lei, Lei Hong and the others were no longer around. They had also taken away the memories and time that once belonged to this place. In the sky, two figures flew past and directly flew into the imperial capital. It was Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi. They arrived at Zetian Palace before the sky turned dark, which surprised them more or less. From Lanyan City to Heaven Connect City, it would take at least 10 days even on horseback. However, with the two god-level experts, it only took a day. Outside Zetian Palace, the bamboo leaves were green, and the garden in the palace naturally maintained a sense of spring. Rows of royal guards walked between the pavilions with their hands on the hilts of their swords, protecting the safety of the empire. "Who is it?" The commander of the dragon guards looked up at the sky and said, "Come out." This person's cultivation was not bad. Su Yu's judgment would not be wrong. The commander of the royal guards that she had chosen was also a top-notch expert. Although he was very young, his cultivation was at least at the 3rd level of the heaven realm. "Papa! Papa!" Two beams of purple light flashed out. They were spatial cracks. Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi's figures appeared in the empty space in front of Zetian Palace. A group of royal guards rushed forward and knelt in a row. "Greetings, Your Highness King Qin." "Greetings, Princess Shi." "No need for formalities, please rise." Lin Muyu raised her hand and said, "Bring me to Yen and Aunt Luo." After receiving the report, Qin Yen and Su Yu walked straight out of the Great Hall. Qin Yen had a look of joy. "Big brother, you're back?" As the loyal prince, this brat still maintained the simplicity and innocence of the past. Qin Yen, who was infatuated with the cultivation of martial arts, had already stepped into the Saint Heaven realm and was only a step away from the God realm. However, his cultivation in the art of a ruler and shrewdness was equivalent to 0. If not for Su Yu assisting him, the Zetian Palace would probably have changed owners in less than half a year. Lin Muyu hugged Qin Yen, the two of them laughing heartily. The joy of reuniting after a long time was self-evident. Subsequently, Qin Yen turned around to look at Tang Xiaoxi and cupped his fists respectfully. Qin Yen greets Princess Shi. Tang Xiaoxi helped him up. "Your Highness Prince Zhong, you don't have to be so polite." Su Yu smiled and said, "Since the two of you are travel-worn, you can stay in the Zetian Palace Hall. I will immediately order people to prepare dinner. Is there anything in particular you want to eat?" "It's fine as long as it's Zetian Palace Hall's food." Lin Muyu rubbed her hands and said, "It's been a long time since I've eaten in Lanyan City. Such a good opportunity is hard to come by. Don't you think so, Xiaoxi?" Tang Xiaoxi nodded, feeling a lump in her throat, but she did not speak. Back then she, Lin Muyu, and Qin Yin were all in Lanyan City, and the memories of tasting the delicacies of the Zetian Palace Hall together seemed to be gone forever. Now that she returned to the Zetian Palace Hall again, she felt especially upset in her heart. She really wished that Qin Yin was right in front of her, and that the people she cared about were still around. However, the affairs of the world were unpredictable, and no one could have everything go as they wished. Not long after entering the Great Hall, the loud call of an attendant came from outside the hall. "The Duke of the North, Tang Zong, requests an audience." "Tang Zong is here." Su Er stood up and said with a smile, "Xiaoxi, he's the son of your second uncle, Tang Jin." Tang Xiaoxi nodded and smiled. Tang Lan and Tang Lu's rebellion was already something that had been hammered into an iron plate. However, the empire had not uprooted the Tang family, but had even found a branch of the Tang family's bloodline. How could Tang Xiaoxi not know how much effort they had put into this? Tang Zong walked in wearing a white robe. His expression was handsome, and he was no longer that little blacksmith from before. His eyes were extremely clear, and after entering he knelt down on one knee. Tang Zong pays his respects to your highness. Prince Zhong pays his respects to Marquis Xining. Su Yu smiled. Tang Zong, there are two more people. Why don't you pay your respects? Ah. Tang Zong was startled, because he did not recognize these two people at all. Although he could tell at a glance that Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi were not ordinary people, after all, they had not masked their faces. Su Yu smiled, pointed at Lin Muyu and said, "This is Her Highness, Lin Muyu, the Prince of Qin." Tang Zong hurriedly knelt down again. "This humble subject pays his respects to your highness, the Prince of Qin. No need to be so polite." Su Yu then pointed at Tang Xiaoxi and said, "Tang Zong, do you know who this beauty is?" Tang Zong doesn't know. He shook his head in confusion. Su Er lightly laughed. "She's your older cousin, Tang Xiaoxi. She's also your only relative in the Zetian Palace. Hurry and get to know her. In the future, you'll be family." "Older cousin?" Tang Zong's eyes couldn't help but redden. "Are you really my older cousin?" Tang Xiaoxi walked up and gently stroked Tang Zong's arms, helping him up. She said, "As expected, you look a lot like second uncle when he was young." Tang Zong hurriedly bowed again. Tang Zong pays his respects to older cousin. "Oh no, pays his respects to the Fugua princess?" Tang Xiaoxi giggled. "Silly boy, stop bowing. Why are you bowing so much? Don't call me the Fugua princess, just call me older cousin. Hurry and get up. Since you're here, why don't you have dinner with us tonight?" "Yes, older cousin." Tang Xiaoxi looked at Tang Zong's honest appearance and said with a smile, "Tang Zong, from now on, you're the successor of our Tang family. I'll teach you the mental cultivation method of the Fire Fox Seal. I hope that you'll cultivate well and be loyal to the empire. Don't disappoint everyone's high regard and love for you." "All right. Thank you, older cousin." Tang Zong naturally knew the importance of Tang Xiaoxi's words. This was equivalent to Tang Xiaoxi acknowledging her identity as a member of the Tang clan. This was something that Tang Zong had always dreamed of. Moreover, it was publicly acknowledged that one couldn't become the master of the Seven Seas Tang sect without cultivating the Fire Fox Seal. Tang Xiaoxi personally imparting the Fire Fox Seal was a great honor. A little later, a winged cavalry warrior came to report, "Prince Xen Feng Jixing's convoy has entered Lanyan City and is heading toward the Zetian Palace. Dinner isn't ready yet. Big brother Feng has finally made it in time for dinner. He's really in a hurry." Lin Mu smiled. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, "Mu, should we go and welcome General Feng?" "MMM." Lin Mu nodded. Seeing that Tang Xiaoxi didn't harbor any hatred toward Feng Jixing, he felt at ease. After all, the 100 traders from the Tang clan, as well as Tang Lu, were all killed by Feng Jixing. If Tang Xiaoxi hated Feng Jixing, there was nothing wrong with that. However, Tang Xiaoxi was a righteous person and knew that Tang Lu and the others were courting death by themselves and had nothing to do with others. Not long after, several tens of riders left the Zetian Palace, heading toward the Tongtian Street to welcome Prince Xen. From afar, there was an endless stream of carriages, and the flags of Prince Xian and the Empire's purple Yinhua were connected together. Feng Jixing was riding at the very front of the crowd, flying over. When he saw Lin Muyu from afar, he could not help but let out a hearty laugh and say, You're really early." "That's right. To think that you even got a guard of honor to come over." Lin Muyu touched her nose and said, "Big brother Feng, you've changed. You're no longer that simple and unadorned. You've started to pay attention to extravagance and the prestige of a king. Sigh, I really didn't expect this." Feng Jixing smiled unhappily and said, "I really feel like hitting you. Do you think that I don't want to fly to Lanyan City alone? But look at what the carriages behind me are transporting. There are over 1,000 heavenly books, a tremendous amount of weapons, shields, armors, and rations, as well as 500 carriages of gold and silver. If I don't personally escort them and get robbed by the mountain bandits on the way, wouldn't I be busy in Lingnan for the past half a year?" All right. You're right. The food in the Zetian Palace is almost ready. Let's go in and eat while we talk. All right. In the palace, a group of maids and attendants kept on serving the dishes. A total of 3 tables had been set up. After all, Feng Jixing had brought back Zhang Wei, Luo Yu, Chen Xiaoli, and the other generals. There was a need to arrange tables for them. Big brother Feng, I have something to show you. Lin Muyu pulled Feng Jixing to a corner of the palace and took out 2 sabers from her Qiankuan bag. One was enshrouded in flames while the other was surrounded by wind blades. They were the Crimson Phoenix and Azure Dragon divine weapons. Both of them were sub-divine grade and much stronger than the Saint grade Windcutter saber. Oh my god! Feng Jixing could no longer remain calm. He grabbed the Crimson Phoenix with one hand and felt a wave of blazing energy surging into his palm. It actually fused with his law of fire and divine power in an instant. It was as if the saber had instantly become a part of his body. He instantly entered the realm of being one with the saber. He frowned immediately. These 2 sabers are mine. Do you know how to use dual sabers? Lin Muyu asked. Feng Jixing laughed loudly. Are you kidding me? The wind saber technique that I created is a different path. It originally had a set of dual sabers. Don't worry. What's so special about these sabers? They're called the Crimson Phoenix and Azure Dragon respectively. They're the weapons of a sovereign in the ghost realm. Feng Jixing was stunned. You're actually helping me get weapons from the sovereign? I didn't. I killed him and took them while I was at it. But I'm not giving these 2 sabers to you for free. Lin Muyu said. Feng Jixing narrowed his eyes. Name your price. Don't be too harsh. The taxes in Lingnan aren't that high. Lin Muyu raised 2 fingers. Oh. Feng Jixing was overjoyed. At least you have a conscience. 2 million Jin coins is enough. Who said 2 million? I want 200 million Jin coins. What? 200 million? Feng Jixing was shocked. Do you think I'm a tycoon? 200 million Jin coins is enough to make the treasury of Xiang City lose a layer of its skin. That's right. Lin Muyu said, I still need to ask a yen for another 200 million. Together with the 100 million I have, it will be 500 million. Why do you need 500 million Jin coins? Feng Jixing was stunned. To build a dock in Lingdong province and build fortress ships and warships. Feng Jixing fell silent. But he knew that Lin Muyu's knowledge was definitely outstanding even on the continent. He nodded and said, All right, no problem. The Jin coins will arrive in Winterfrost City next month. Just let me know if you need anything else. Craftsmen, people who know how to build ships. Okay, I'll do my best. Chapter 711. To the north of the Tongtian Gorge, after passing through numerous mountain ranges, there was a plateau covered with a sea of snow. The 8 Wastelands, a vast plain, was once the gathering place of demons. However, the climate of the 8 Wastelands was very harsh. Over 7 out of 12 months of the year, it was covered with thick snow. Therefore, the grazing season and planting season could not exceed 5 months at most. However, such a barren plateau provided the main provisions for the hundreds of thousands of demons in the heaven-reaching gorge year after year. Several hundred years ago, the Demon King and the Saint Master led the majority of the demon race's population and army out of the Ba Wasteland, leaving only one aristocratic family of the demon race to guard the Ba Wasteland, which was the Nan Nan family, a famous family of the demon race. Lianji, Lianhai, Bai Bing and other demon race experts came from the Nan Nan family. For the past several hundred years, the Nan Nan family's contributions couldn't go unnoticed. At this moment, the 8 Wastelands was covered with ice and snow. Looking into the distance, there were no signs of human habitation. Only a group of cavalrymen on the snowy plains were galloping towards a castle in the distance. Zhongnan City was the fief of the Nan Nan family. The city wasn't big, but it still had a population of 200,000 demons. The cavalry team galloped into the city, heading straight for the city lord's mansion. At the front of the team was a young high-level demon with dashing eyebrows and starry eyes. A light red long sword hung from his waist, and there was a clear and arrogant expression on his face. Shen Baichuan was the son of Xin Xiang, the patriarch of the Zhongnan aristocratic family. At a young age, he had already stepped into the realm of a 6-star demon ancestor. In the younger generation of the demon race, his cultivation was second only to Qianfeng. Moreover, Shen Baichuan was well-versed in the art of war and was said to be well-versed in both the pen and the sword. Back then, he was highly regarded by the Demon King and the Saint Master. If it weren't for the fact that he lost to Qianfeng in a martial arts competition, he would most likely be the #1 demon marshal. The inside of the mansion was empty and desolate. The white-bearded Xianxiang sat on a stone bench in the courtyard, sipping tea. He said without turning his head, "Baichuan, what's the matter?" Shen Baichuan's expression was grave as he bowed and said, "Father, are we going to keep waiting like this?" "What do you mean? Father, can't you tell?" Shen Baichuan's eyes were cold. In the Battle of Tongtian Province, our god race suffered a crushing defeat. Qianfeng's command was weak, and Lin Muyu killed many of our warriors. Now, the god race's military strength in the Tongtian Gorge is only half of what it was half a year ago. Our Zhongnan aristocratic families lived frugally. Did they squander our wealth like this? Shut up. Shen Xiang stood up and said sternly, "His Majesty the Divine Emperor has made his own decision. You have no right to speak." "Father." Shen Baichuan cupped his fists, his cloak fluttering behind him. His eyes were filled with determination as he said, "Indecisiveness leads to chaos. If this continues, I'm afraid that the 10,000-year foundation of our Nanan family will be dragged down by His Majesty the Divine Emperor for too long. Does Father want to be the sinner of the Nanan family?" "Baichuan, why are you speaking so presumptuously today?" Shen Xiang's eyes were filled with coldness. Shen Baichuan immediately knelt on the ground, his body trembling as he said, "Because I just went to inspect the cities under my jurisdiction. There are people dying of starvation and cold everywhere, especially in Willow City. Almost half of the people in the city died of starvation. The people have lost their homes, and the plague is spreading everywhere. The divine capital wants us to provide 3 times the number of horses, food, and weapons. If Father agrees, I'm afraid the Nanan family will be finished." Shen Xiang squinted his eyes and asked, "What do you want to do?" Shen Baichuan gritted his teeth. "I hope Father can let me go to Tongtian Gorge. I want to see His Majesty personally and ask him to change the overall strategy. Defending Tongtian Gorge will only cause our god race to lose again and again. Ever since Qianfeng married Her Highness Jing, he has been living like a prince. He's no longer as wise as he was in the past. If we let Qianfeng lead the god race's army, I'm afraid it will lead to the destruction of our god race. Then how do you think the god race should defend against the enemy? The Empire's demonic crystal cannons are very powerful. They have a long range and great power. Even if they are not accurate enough, they are still very terrifying. They can dominate the entire battlefield. The energy of the Tongtian Gorge is getting weaker day by day. As long as the Empire gathers enough demonic crystal cannons, they can blast the Tongtian Gorge open and advance into the Tongtian Gorge step by step. The narrow terrain of the Tongtian Gorge is not conducive for large armies to fight. It's very difficult to use the roundabout strategy. Once the humans transport the demonic crystal cannons in, the Tongtian Gorge will become the burial ground of hundreds of thousands of god race warriors. So, Shen Baichuan took a deep breath. His eyes were full of wisdom as he said, "If I were the commander, I would order the god race to retreat from the Tongtian Gorge, give up the god's capital and enter the 8 wastelands. We will retreat in order to advance. We will disperse the armor demons and form an alliance with the northern desert tribes from the north. We will break through the northern gate of the Empire's Cloud Province and attack the Empire's army from the plains. As long as we get the Cloud Province, we will have the capital to continue to compete with the humans. Father, as the saying goes, water is unpredictable and soldiers are unpredictable. If we are trapped in the Tongtian Gorge, it will only lead to our destruction. That's all I have to say. Father, please judge the situation." Shen Xiang sat on the stone stool again. The cold stool made his buttocks feel cold. After a while, Xianxiang said, "Why do you think that His Majesty the God Emperor will appreciate you and give you the title of Marshal?" "Because," Shen Baichuan smiled and said, "because Zhongnan family has 100,000 cavalrymen in the 8 wastelands. These 100,000 cavalrymen can protect His Majesty. If His Majesty doesn't retreat into the 8 wastelands, then our 100,000 cavalrymen can't provide such protection for His Majesty." Xianxiang was startled. "Baichuan, what do you mean by that?" "What I mean is very clear. If Feng Yuan can become the God Race's emperor, then Xianxiang can also become the God Race's emperor. If Feng Yuan is stubborn, then he can no longer be the God Race's emperor." "You," Xianxiang pondered for a long time before he waved his hand and said, "I'm tired, I'm going to sleep for a while." "Baichuan, you decide everything yourself. This is the Zhongnan family's golden seal, you have to use it properly." With that, Xianxiang stood up and walked shakily to his room. 2 graceful maids hurriedly came out to welcome him. On the other hand, Shen Baichuan's gaze was fixed on the stone table. There was a small and exquisite golden seal on the table. This golden seal was the symbol of the highest authority in the entire Nan aristocrat clan. It was the tiger seal that could mobilize 100,000 cavalrymen. Immediately, Shen Baichuan's heart pounded violently. He was actually so close to the highest authority. Wasn't this the day he had been dreaming of? His palm covered the golden seal's handle. Even the golden seal still had Xianxiang's warmth. "Father, just watch. I will definitely revive the God race." 100 miles west of Lanyan City, an ancient city pass stood between the plains and the endless forest. It was the demon-subduing pass, a pass that had existed for a long time. It was the existence of the demon-subduing pass that prevented the millions of demons from invading the east and ensured the long-term peace of Lanyan City. During the 4 years that Tang Xiaoxi had been in a coma in the Tongtian Gorge, the demons had repeatedly caused trouble at the pass. As a result, the Zetian Palace had ordered to increase the number of Marquis Xianxi's soldiers to 150,000. At the same time, the demon-subduing pass had been expanded to become a huge pass that could accommodate 150,000 soldiers. From the east of the pass, a man and a woman were walking side by side. They weren't walking fast, but they weren't slow either. "Sergeant, look, someone is coming over there." A young soldier stood up and pointed into the distance. Under the battlement, the sleepy middle-aged sergeant rubbed his eyes and glanced outside the wall. He couldn't help but frown and said, "That's strange. The demon-subduing pass is so desolate. The demon-subduing pass is full of demons who eat people without spitting out their bones. Who would come to the demon-subduing pass? Could it be that they are poachers who want to hunt spirit beasts in the endless forest?" "It doesn't look like it, sir. The leather robes that they are wearing seem to have the Qin clan's purple Yinhua emblem." "Ah!" The sergeant squinted his eyes and took a closer look. He couldn't help but tremble. "Oh my God! That man is wearing 3 golden general stars and is wearing a noble battle robe. Could he be one of the 3 kings? Also, sir, that woman is wearing a princess robe. I've seen Princess Tang Wei in Lanyan City. She was wearing the same robe. Then, they must be His Highness Prince Qin and Princess Tang Xiaoxi. Ah? It can't be. Is it His Highness Prince Qin who has become a god?" At this moment, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi had arrived at the bottom of the city. They leaped up and easily flew above the city. Tang Xiaoxi looked at the dumbfounded soldiers who didn't know whether they should shoot their arrows or not. She smiled and said, "Don't just stand there. Go and inform Lord Tangzhen that Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu are here." Yes. A captaincy was overwhelmed by the favor and scrambled down the pass. Not long after, a martial artist wearing a silver battle robe sprinted down the cold stone steps. It was Tangzhen. When he saw Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi in the air, Tangzhen's body trembled. He knelt down on one knee and cupped his fists. "Subordinate Tangzhen greets His Highness Prince Qin and Princess Xi. No need to stand on ceremony." Tang Xiaoxi floated down and held Tangzhen's arms. She smiled and said, "You've worked hard guarding the demon suppression pass for so many years." "Not at all," Tangzhen said with some bitterness. Princess Xi, you're finally back. Because Ling Hu Yen hasn't seen Princess Xi for too long, he thinks that the Empire has harmed you, so he has repeatedly violated the border. These years, the Demon Suppression Pass has been in constant war. More than 20,000 soldiers have died for the Empire because of this. Tang Xiaoxi was startled and said softly, "Yes, I understand. I'll go to the Forest of Infinity with Mu in the afternoon to see Ling Hu Yen. Don't worry, the Demon Clan won't disturb the Demon Suppression Pass anymore." "Thank you, Princess Xi." Tang Zhen was grateful and said, "I'll hold a banquet in the pass at noon to entertain your highness and Princess Xi." Although the Demon Suppression Pass is very poor, there's still some game that can go with the wine. Tang Xiaoxi smiled. "Yes, that's good. Then send an envoy with the Tang Sect's Iron Order as a token to see Ling Hu Yen in the Forest of Infinity. Let her come to the Demon Suppression Pass to apologize." "Yes." Tang Zhen was overjoyed. Chapter 712. On a winter afternoon, Lin Muyu and Tang Zhen hadn't seen each other for a long time. Moreover, they were in a bitter and cold place like the Demon Suppression Pass, so they drank a few more cups of wine and were slightly tipsy. Standing side by side with Tang Zhen on the Demon Suppression Pass, they gazed at the Forest of Infinity. The highest point of the Demon Suppression Pass was at least 50 meters tall and was the tallest building in the Forest of Infinity. The view was extremely wide, and they could see more than half of the Forest of Infinity. "Your Highness, look how beautiful these mountains and rivers are." Tang Zhen gazed at the white snow in the distance, his face full of drunkenness. Lin Muyu couldn't help but point at the mountains and rivers, saying, "Although it's difficult, these mountains and rivers are gradually being incorporated into our territory. If the Qin Empire can be unified, you and I will both be heroes." Tang Zhen smiled. "I don't ask for any achievements, I just want to stand in this world and not let anyone down. Your Highness, you've been fighting all these years, it's really been hard on you." "What hard?" Lin Muyu laughed self-deprecatingly. "It's just like what you said, using war to stop war, to pacify the world, so that the people don't have to suffer the pain of war. All I want is to have a clear conscience. For 10 years. I've been fighting and killing, but I have a clear conscience. Those I've killed are those who deserve to be killed." Tang Zhen was stunned for a moment, then said, "I'll be fair. If Great Qin didn't have you, Lin Muyu, I'm afraid the chaos would continue for another 20 years. Xiang Yu, the Duke of Southern, killed 1 million people to save a city. That's an ambitious and ruthless person. Your Highness, you killed one person to save tens of thousands. That's a hero. The eyes of the world are bright, and they will see it very clearly." Lin Muyu laughed under the cover of her drunkenness and said clearly, "If I had a choice, I wouldn't want to kill a single person. Who doesn't want to live a peaceful life? If I could choose, I'd rather plant 10 miles of peach blossoms and stay with the person I like. I'd no longer care about the affairs of the world. Who cares about the disputes between kings? Who cares about the flames of war? I'd be happy in Xiaoyao." "It's just a pity." Tang Zhen was even more drunk now, and he didn't care about the etiquette between a ruler and an official. He smiled and said, "It's just a pity that the people you, Lin Muyu, like are the Empress and Princess Xi. No matter which one it is, they won't let you live such a romantic life, right?" Lin Muyu chuckled and patted Tang Zhen on the shoulder. "It's good that you know that. A man should be responsible. I will defend the mission that Xiao Yin and Xiao Shi shoulder with them. Even if I am bruised all over, I will have no regrets." Tang Xiaoxi, who was listening at the side, was very touched. She raised her head and looked at Lin Muyu's handsome face, which was slightly red, and said, "Mumu, are you really willing to guard the peach blossoms for me and Xiao Yin?" "Yes, I do." Lin Muyu nodded heavily. "But I don't really like peaches." "10-li pear blossom it is then." "I don't like pears either." "10-li grape trellis then." "Grapes are too sour and hurt my teeth." "Then." Lin Muyu was about to cry. "Great aunt, what do you like to eat?" "Meat." Tang Xiaoxi held Lin Muyu's hand excitedly. "Mu, after Xiao Yin returns and becomes successful, how about we go to the dragon forest to be hunters? Cloud deer meat for breakfast, mountain pork for lunch, and bear paw for dinner. What a wonderful life. Aren't you afraid of getting fat? Lin Muyu was helpless. Tang Zhen smiled and said, Your Highness, don't forget that foxes eat meat. Tang Xiaoxi glared at Tang Zhen. You are siding with an outsider. Tang Zhen, are you still a member of the Tang family? Yes, how can I not be? Tang Zhen grinned and said, Your Highness, I heard that you have met the illegitimate son of Second Master Tang Jin, Tang Zong, in Lanyan City? Yes, I have. It's a pity that I have to guard the demon-subduing pass. Otherwise, I would like to go back and pay my respects to this Duke of Zhenbei, the new master of the Seven Seas Tang sect. It's fine. After we meet Ling Hu Yen, you can naturally go back and see Tang Zong. Yes. Lin Muyu wanted to say something but stopped herself. Actually, everyone knew that although Tang Zong had been conferred the title of Duke of Zhenbei, he was nothing compared to the four dukes, Wei Chou, Xiang Yu, Zheng Yifan, and Luo Xian. First of all, Tang Zong's military strength was extremely limited. The power of life and death in the Seven Seas province was concentrated in the hands of Zhe Tian Palace. But overall it was still a good thing. After all, there was still a seedling left for the Seven Seas Tang sect. In truth, there were simply too many seedlings that wanted to find the Tang sect. Tang Lu and Tang Tian were both hedonistic young masters who had harmed many young girls among the common people when they were alive. If Xiao Han from the Fire Sparrow Division sent people to investigate, he could find at least 100 of them. But Lin Muyu couldn't be bothered to do such a strenuous and unrewarding thing. Since Qin Yin had chosen Tang Zong when she was alive, then so be it. In any case, this fellow was honest and kind. Fortune favors fools, and he would not incite Zheng Yifan's jealousy and be killed. At this moment, the sound of hooves and conch horns came from afar. The demons from the endless forest had arrived. The horses' hooves made a rustling sound on the snowy ground. Ling Hu Yen was dressed in a white robe. Her hair was elegantly coiled into a golden crown, and resplendent white diamond earrings swayed beside her ears. Her entire being was as beautiful as an elf in the snow. She was worthy of the title of the Endless Forest's #1 beauty. Behind her, hundreds of demon generals spurred their horses to follow. Not a single one of them dared to overstep Ling Hu Yan's position. After all, there was a difference in status. When Ling Hu Yan raised her head to look at the demon-subduing pass, she saw a vague figure that was very familiar. It was Tang Xiaoxi. Her Highness she, Ling Hu Yan's entire body trembled, and her nose felt sour. Without turning her head, she said to the demon generals behind her, Her Highness she is not dead. Her Highness she is not dead. The Empire did not betray the demon race. That's great. Her Highness she is not dead. The group of generals raised their weapons one after another and shouted loudly, venting the joy in their hearts. The demon race's way of celebrating was so violent that the densely packed archers on the city gates all knocked their arrows and pulled them into a full moon, aiming at Ling Hu Yen and the others in the distance. Put down your bows and arrows. Lin Muyu's voice was not very loud, but it was very penetrating, and there was an unquestionable sense of command in her voice. Immediately, the group of archers put down their bows and arrows. No one dared to act rashly. In front of a divine-level king, anyone who dared to act rashly would be courting death. Tang Xiaoxi's face was full of joy. Ling Hu Yen is here. Mu, shall we go down? All right. Tang Xiaoxi leaped up and disappeared in a flash. A spatial ripple appeared in the air, and the next moment, her figure had already appeared several hundred meters below the city walls. This was the extraordinary power of a divine-level expert. Tang Zhen was stunned. When he turned to look again, he discovered that Lin Muyu had also disappeared. She had appeared on the snowy ground below the city walls. Tang Xiaoxi's figure, her cloak fluttering in the wind, was elegant and free of dust. These two divine-level experts were really infuriating. Tang Zhen clenched his fists and said to the group of captaincy behind him, Come, follow me down the city walls to welcome Ling Hu Yen. Yes. Ling Hu Yen dismounted and knelt on both knees, disregarding the filth on the snowy ground. Her voice trembled as she said, Ling Hu Yen of the demon clan greets Her Highness she, Ling Hu Yen, get up. Tang Xiaoxi helped her up and said, "Why did you start a war with the Empire when I wasn't around? You even killed so many Empire soldiers. How do you expect me to explain this?" Ling Huyen looked aggrieved as she said, "I had no choice. Princess Xi suddenly disappeared from the world. Princess Xi's grandfather committed suicide in Hundred Ridge City and died for the country. Her brother, Tang Lu, lost his military power in Seven Seas Pass. I thought that the Empire had already made up its mind to completely eradicate the Tang family, so we sent troops to attack Demon Subduing Pass. You?" Tang Xiaoxi was extremely helpless. "I asked you to be loyal to the Empire, not to the Tang family. You can't betray the Empire just for me, can you? You attacked Demon Subduing Pass and caused so many Empire soldiers to lose their lives. The Demon clan must have suffered a lot as well. Why bother?" "But Ling Huyen still wanted to argue. But Lin Muyu persuaded her. "Xiao Shi, Ling Huyen is confused because of her concern. Don't blame her anymore." Alas, Tang Xiaoxi sighed helplessly. The Demon clan was always a double-edged sword. They could protect Lanyan City, but they could also deal a fatal blow to Lanyan City. No matter what, she was duty-bound. At this moment, Tang Zhen and the others rode over and dismounted to salute. After the salute, Tang Zhen glanced at Ling Huyen and said, "Ling Huyen, you really made us suffer. I fought side by side with you, but in the blink of an eye, you don't recognize us anymore." Ling Huyen pouted and said, "Lord Tang Zhen didn't give way either. Your ballistae and magic crystal cannons also intimidated our Demon clan warriors." Tang Xiaoxi said, "Now that I'm here, you two should stop fighting, okay? Just give me, Tang Xiaoxi, some face." Lin Muyu saw some clues and asked with a smile, "Ling Huyen, you are still unmarried, right?" "Yes, Your Highness. Do you want to introduce me?" Ling Huyen giggled. Lin Muyu nodded and looked at Tang Zhen, asking, "Mark Xianxia, you are also unmarried, right?" Tang Zhen touched his nose and said, "Yes, I am still alone. When Your Highness is with the princess, you don't care about my feelings at all." "Alas." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Ling Huyen, what do you think of Tang Zhen?" Ling Huyen was stunned and instantly understood that Lin Muyu wanted to be a matchmaker. She glanced at Tang Zhen and pouted, saying, "He is ugly, but he is not bad." Lin Muyu smiled knowingly and said, "Tang Zhen, what do you think of Ling Huyen?" "Your Highness, Ling Huyen is the most beautiful woman this subordinate has ever seen, second only to Her Highness Qin Yin and Princess Xi." "That's good. Since the two of you don't reject each other, and you're both single, why don't I be the matchmaker? The two of you should get married. It'll be the best of both worlds. Apart from accomplishing a beautiful thing, it'll also guarantee the eternal peace between the Demon Subduing Pass and the demon race." What, you don't want to?" "No, this subordinate is willing." Tang Zhen cupped his fists and revealed a happy expression. "This subordinate will listen to Your Highness's arrangements." Tang Xiaoxi smiled and asked, "Ling Huyen, are you willing to marry Marquis Xianxia Tang Zhen?" Ling Huyen immediately blushed and said, If you have something to say, just say it. I originally thought that Your Highness she would marry Lin Muyu and I would be a dowry, a concubine or something. I didn't think that Your Highness she would value this servant so much." Lin Muyu wanted to die and said, "How can your imagination be so rich? I don't take concubines." Ling Huyen smiled and said, "Since Your Highness Prince Qin doesn't want me, then I can only marry Marquis Xianxia." Tang Zhen was overjoyed. A beautiful wife with a voluptuous figure had fallen from the sky. How could he not be happy? That night, the Demon Subduing Pass set up 200 tables on the snowy ground outside the pass and held Tang Zhen and Ling Huyan's wedding with great fanfare. Moreover, Prince Qin and Princess Fu Guo were the witnesses. Chapter 713. A heavy snow in early spring swept across the entire gorge. The once majestic fairy's capital was now covered in a layer of white. There were messy hoof prints on the mountain roads. The hoof prints were half the size of normal warhorses. These were purebred warhorses unique to the northern desert. They were majestic and powerful. The hoof prince led straight to the fairy's capital. Clatter, clatter. The sound of swords rubbing against armor was heard. The group went to the palace, where Demon King Feng Yuan lived. Bang! The golden gate opened slowly. A high-level demon walked out with 2 rows of guards in golden armor. He shouted, "Shen Baichuan of the Nanan family greets His Majesty." Then he walked up and cupped his hands. "General Shen, the guards of faraway country need to remove their weapons to greet His Majesty. Please." Shen Baichuan smiled coldly and didn't say anything else. He ordered his subordinates to remove their swords and handed them to the attendants. Then he strode into the hall with 4 of his subordinates, each of whom wore the insignia of a major. After all, Shen Baichuan was a duke at the border. The Demon King sat on the throne while Qian Feng and the other generals stood on both sides. When Qian Feng and Shen Baichuan's eyes met, it was as if there was a fire burning in their eyes. Shen Baichuan and Qian Feng were known as the twin walls of the gods' race. They were both the best of the younger generation. Qian Feng was slightly better, but Shen Baichuan had never admitted defeat. "General, you must be tired." Feng Yuan smiled, holding the Blade of Kings. Shen Baichuan cupped his fists. "Your Majesty! I wonder why the young general has come to God's capital this time?" Princess Royal Feng Jing, who was beside the Demon King, asked. "For the sake of saving the entire race from the abyss." "What are you talking about?" Feng Jing was unhappy. "The gods' race has been in the fairy's capital for thousands of years. How come we're in the abyss now?" Shen Baichuan raised his brows. "Princess Jean, Heaven's Gorge is easy to attack but hard to defend. The Sky Veil has been repeatedly destroyed, and we've lost our barrier. Isn't this like fire and water? The human empire has stationed 200,000 elite soldiers at the front line of Skybridge City, and nearly 1,000 magic crystal cannons are eyeing us covetously. They may break through the southern gate of our Protoss race at any time. Does this count as being close to the abyss?" "You." Feng Jing gritted her teeth, but she didn't know how to refute. Feng Yuan's expression was calm, and he didn't show anything. He only smiled. "General, you've been reading military books for a long time, so you must have extraordinary foresight. Since you've come to the fairy's capital, tell me, what do you think?" Shen Baichuan cupped his hands and said, "The Qin Empire only relies on the magic crystal cannons." "Your Majesty, you can imagine that Wei Chou has led the Longdan army camp to operate in the Skybridge province for a long time. He's very experienced in both defense and offense. If we fight a positional battle with the Qin Empire, we'll definitely lose with their magic crystal cannons and battle formations. Even if Marshal Qianfeng connects with the Iha country and attacks from the south, it's just a temporary measure. Don't forget that Prince Xin, Feng Jixing, is eyeing us from the Qinling Mountains with 200,000 soldiers. As long as the Iha country attacks from the coast, they might be wiped out by Feng Jixing before they can even see the flag of the Longdan army camp. If that's the case, the gods' race will definitely lose." All the officials were rendered speechless by his words and remained silent. The Demon Emperor nodded slightly and said, "Little General, please continue." Shen Baichuan swept his gaze across and saw a hint of unwillingness flashing past Qianfeng's face. It was as if his thoughts had been exposed. Shen Baichuan couldn't help but feel a little proud and continued, "Lin Muyu is looking forward to fighting a positional battle with us. Therefore, he's not anxious at all. After taking over the Skybridge province, he's been training his troops, waiting for us to attack and send ourselves to our deaths. However, we might not necessarily have to fight a decisive battle with them on the plains." "Why do you say that?" The Demon Emperor was surprised. Shen Baichuan said respectfully, "Back then, the reason why the gods' race was able to march straight into the continent, taking over 2 of the Empire's provinces and reaching the Five Valleys city was because of their mobile battle tactics. The armor demons are ferocious and can be said to be invincible in field battles. However, in the subsequent battles, we gave up on field battles and chose to fight a positional battle with the Qin Empire. After they obtained the arrow boxes, they also developed the magic crystal cannons. How can we not be defeated?" The Demon Emperor narrowed his eyes and asked, "Little General, what strategy do you have to deal with them?" Shen Baichuan smiled. It's very simple. 8 words to defeat the empire. Which 8 words? An elder asked. Attack when they're unprepared and defeat when they're weak. Shen Baichuan said. How do you attack when they're unprepared? Defeat when they're weak again? Feng Jing saw that Qianfeng was being pressured step by step. She hurriedly spoke to help Qianfeng regain some face. Shen Baichuan said, in order to completely destroy the divine race, the Qin Empire has gathered almost all of their magic crystal cannons in the Tongtian province. As for the other provinces, even the capital cities only have dozens of magic crystal cannons as decorations. In that case, why don't we turn our army around and retreat to the 8 wastelands? Then, together with the barbarian tribes of the northern desert, we can attack the Cloud Province from the northern snow region. The Cloud Province is guarded by Duke Luo Xian of the Northern Kingdom. He has no more than 200,000 soldiers and less than 100 magic crystal cannons. This year is a cold spring, and there will be another heavy snowfall before March. This snow is our chance to turn defeat into victory. All 200,000 armor demons will be divided into 20 groups, and we will attack the Cloud Province under the cover of the snow. Together with the spies we have been operating in the Cloud Province for many years, we won't have to worry about Twilight Rain City. Feng Jing bit her red lips and was speechless again. What do you think? What do you think? Shen Baichuan asked with a stern expression. The group of old officials nodded their heads and seemed to have no other ideas. At this moment, Qianfeng suddenly slammed his palm on the table beside him and said in a low voice, Nonsense. You're just an armchair strategist. Shen Baichuan smiled and said, Why does Marshal Qianfeng think that I'm just an armchair strategist? Qianfeng's eyes were cold as he said, First, if there is another heavy snow, the food for the 200,000 armor demons will be the biggest problem. We will be able to harvest some of the food in the Tongtian Gorge in a month. At least, it will be enough for the armor demons to get through the winter. However, if we send our army to the north and launch an attack on the Cloud Province from the snowfield, food will be the biggest problem. 200,000 armor demons will have to eat 2 million kilograms of food every day. Where will they come from? I'm afraid that they will all starve to death before they even enter the Cloud Province. Second, the tribes of the northern desert will come as fast as hungry wolves. Haven't the tribes of the 8 wastelands been harassed by the northern desert enough? Cooperating with the northern desert is no different from asking a tiger for its skin. Maybe the Cloud Province will be destroyed before we even enter our nest. Third, the Tongtian Gorge is the foundation of the Protoss. Only in the worm nest can we hatch the armor demons, the winged people, and the giant flying snakes. Without the help of these strange creatures, we will lose the foundation to challenge the Qin Empire. Shen Baichuan, do you know that war is unpredictable and water is unpredictable, but you don't know how to adapt to the situation, time, and place? Marshall is right, but I have a way to deal with all of them. Shen Baichuan smiled confidently and said, First, food will not be a problem. Although it is spring, the Zhongnan family can still provide food for 100,000 armor demons. The other 100,000 can be fed like ducks. Kill 1,000 armor demons every day and feed the rest of the armor demons, which can last for a month. Second, although the northern desert is a wolf, they are still bullied by the Qin Empire. If we promise them great benefits, they will definitely work for the Protoss. Third, as long as Lin Muyu gives the order, the magic crystal cannons will blast the sky, and the army will advance step by step. With the cultivation of the God-state experts like Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi, does Marshal Qianfeng still think that the giant flying snakes can be of use? Feed the armor demons with the corpses of the armor demons? Qianfeng couldn't help but laugh. I'm afraid only General Shen Baichuan can think of such a cruel way to exterminate the armor demons. The armor demons are beasts, why not? As the saying goes, the merciful do not lead the army. Marshal Qianfeng should understand this, right? Shen Baichuan did not budge an inch and sneered, no wonder the marshal lost to Lin Muyu time and time again. Qianfeng trembled with anger. Shen Baichuan, do you want the entire Protoss to be consigned to eternal damnation? No, I will only let the Protoss become the masters of the Shattered Cauldron world again. Shen Baichuan turned around and looked at the Demon Emperor. He knelt down on one knee and raised a golden seal in his hand. Your Majesty, the Zhongnan family's golden seal is here. As long as your Majesty agrees, Shen Baichuan is willing to lead the 100,000 cavalrymen of the Zhongnan family to regain the lost territory for your Majesty. However, we cannot use Marshal Qianfeng's strategy anymore. The Marshal is merciful and doesn't want blood to be spilled. Naturally, he can't contend with famous generals like Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Xiang Yu. Feng Yuan took a deep breath. He naturally knew that other than the 200,000 armor demons under Qianfeng's command, the 100,000 cavalrymen of the Zhongnan family was the most reliable. Thus, he asked, Young General, where are the 100,000 cavalrymen of the 8 wastelands defending? They are at the 8 wastelands, waiting for your Majesty to dispatch them. Shen Baichuan lowered his head. What he meant was that if Feng Yuan didn't withdraw from the Tongtian Gorge, the 100,000 cavalrymen wouldn't be dispatched by Feng Yuan. Qianfeng, Feng Yuan suddenly called out. Qianfeng hastily cupped his fists and knelt on the ground. Imperial Father, Qianfeng is here. Demon King's eyes flickered. Very well. Someone, give the other commander's seal to Shen Baichuan. From now on, Shen Baichuan and Qianfeng will be the commanders of the divine race. Shen Baichuan will command the 100,000 cavalrymen of the 8 wastelands, while Qianfeng will command the 200,000 armor demons. That's it. Shen Baichuan's face was full of joy as he took the commander's seal. Thank you for your kindness, Your Majesty, but, Your Majesty, if you want me to attack the Cloud Middle Province, I'll need an army of 100,000 armor demons. Additionally, I'll need 10 giant flying snakes. In your dreams, Qianfeng's voice was cold. I won't hand over the armor demons to an unscrupulous person. Shen Baichuan only snickered, but didn't say anything. Feng Yuan opened his mouth. Qianfeng, cede the military power according to Commander Shen's request. Our divine race needs a way out. The Tongtian Gorge is so narrow, it's not a good place to stay for long. Imperial Father, Qianfeng raised his head to look at Feng Yuan, only to see that Feng Yuan's face was old. Feng Yuan was an old man. Even after stepping into the God realm, he still began to grow old. He had long lost his original ambition. Chapter 714. Divine Realm. Squeak, squeak, sounds were incessant. The 2 spirit mountains floating in the heaven realm were constantly colliding and fusing together. The core energy within the spirit mountains was constantly making noises, as if it would explode at any time. Swish, swish, swish. Streaks of white light descended and converged into the figures of battle angels. They were all dressed in the same attire and equipment. They were clad in silver armor, and wings of light slowly unfurled behind them. Among them, a female angel with 6 wings and a sword of light in her hand stood quietly in the air above the 2 spirit mountains. She was silent and just looked at them. Her emotionless eyes flashed with an enchanting brilliance. Her skin was smooth and her facial features were exquisite. She was an absolute beauty. Shi Yan, one of the 6-winged scorching angels, and one of the highest authorities of the Western Heaven Realm. A 4-winged angel flew in the air and said respectfully, Lord Angel Shi Yan, the 2 spirit mountains have begun to fuse, and the plain walls have disappeared. They can no longer be separated. Damn it, Shi Yan frowned slightly and said, have the people from East Heaven arrived? They have. They have been guarding the other spirit mountain. At the request of the Western Heaven Realm, although the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor did not come personally, he sent his most trusted God Emperor named Ziyao. Oomph! The light on the blade in Shi Yan's hand soared and said, the people from East Heaven are so arrogant. They actually want us to wait for them here? At this moment, the energy in the space suddenly became chaotic. Pa! A spatial crack appeared in front of them. In the next moment, a beautiful figure floated out of the spatial crack. It was Ziyao. With the appearance of Ziyao, spatial cracks opened in the east, and in the blink of an eye, nearly 100 experts with at least the cultivation of God King appeared one by one, confronting the angel legion of the Western Heaven realm again. What? Do you want to continue fighting? Shi Yan raised her eyebrows. Ziyao sneered. If you want to fight, the Eastern Heaven realm will accompany you to the end. I'm just afraid that you don't have enough four-winged angels to kill. If you send two-winged angels to die, then we, the Eastern Heaven, can't afford to lose face. What did you say? Shi Yan's gaze turned cold, and a faint killing intent spread out like an avalanche. For a moment, a group of Eastern Heaven realm gods were aghast. This was the first time they had seen a blazing angel-level expert from the Western Heaven realm. This Shi Yan was obviously not someone that the previous angel corps could compare to. Anyone who could become a blazing angel must have stepped into the 99th heavenly paradise, and this Shi Yan was no exception. There were only 3 six-winged blazing angels in the entire Western Heaven realm, and she was one of them. Ziyao's heart trembled slightly. She could already feel the disparity in strength. If she fought this Shi Yan alone, her chances of winning would not exceed 40%. If the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor did not come, no one could beat this Shi Yan. However, even so, she could not lose. Thus, Ziyao said lightly, Shi Yan, did you call me here to continue the God War, or to negotiate peace? Negotiate peace. Shi Yan was also unwilling to continue fighting. Otherwise, both sides would suffer, and it would only benefit the people of the Northern Heaven realm and the Southern Heaven realm. Her eyes became gentle, like a god who pitied the world. Her gentle eyes seemed to be able to melt people's hearts. She raised the corner of her mouth and smiled. However, the condition of the negotiation is, these 2 spirit mountains belong to the Western Heaven realm. That's impossible. Ziyao did not give in and said, this spirit mountain plane of the Eastern Heaven realm is called the Broken Cauldron realm. Our Demon Emperor's brother is in the Broken Cauldron realm. How can we hand over the core of the spirit mountain of the Broken Cauldron realm to the Western Heaven realm? In my opinion, you'd better cede the 2 spirited mountains to the Eastern Heaven. Otherwise, there will be another bloodbath. This is difficult. Shi Yan's bright eyes shot out a ray of light and said, the people of the Eastern Heaven realm should also know which plane this spirit mountain of the Western Heaven realm corresponds to, right? The celestial pole continent is the strongest plane of the Western Heaven realm. The number of god emperors in the entire celestial pole continent is in the double digits. Moreover, Lord Ruler of the Western Heaven realm has cultivated many young geniuses to cultivate in the celestial pole continent. It is also impossible for you to want the Western Heaven realm. The celestial pole continent? Ziyao's heart sank. Only now did she remember the origin of the spirit mountain that originally belonged to the Western Heaven realm. The celestial pole continent was the cradle for the Western Heaven realm to cultivate geniuses and experts. Legend has it that every 5 years, the Western Heaven realm would place an oracle in the celestial pole continent to find new experts to strengthen the power of the divine realm. If what Shi Yan said was true, then it would be really troublesome. The integration of the Broken Cauldron realm and the celestial pole continent had already been facilitated. Once the celestial pole continent and the Broken Cauldron realm started to fight, would the Qin Empire where Lin Muyu was in be able to win? I'm afraid even survival would be a problem. Shi Yan seemed to see through Ziyao's thoughts. She couldn't help but smile. Fairy Ziyao, in my opinion, it is better to let it go. Whatever happens in the celestial pole continent and the Broken Cauldron realm, the Eastern Heaven and the Western Heaven realm should not interfere. How about it? Ziyao took a deep breath. Shi Yan, are you so confident that the celestial pole continent can unify the 2 big planes? It's not confidence, it's certainty. Shi Yan smiled. Her peerlessly exquisite face was simply unbelievably beautiful. She lightly swung the long sword in her hand, causing the sword's blade to suddenly emit a light that was hundreds of meters long. She said with a slight smile, either sign a divine covenant, and the 2 sides will no longer interfere in the 2 big planes affairs, or we will start a war. The Western Heaven realm has never feared any challenge. Ziyao pondered for a long time, then lightly nodded, let's sign a divine covenant. The so-called divine covenant was an agreement between gods. Once the agreement was signed, as long as one party violated it, the signatory would lose the power of the laws. A god-rank expert losing the power of the laws was equivalent to becoming a useless person. Rustle, rustle, rustle. A faint golden light flickered on the Divine Covenant stone. When Ziyao and Xiyan injected their divine power together, the Divine Covenant stone quickly disappeared in space, turning into a wisp of power of the laws. This agreement would be supervised by the laws. The Divine Covenant has been established. Xiyan smiled cheerfully. All the gods on the God Realms list are not allowed to enter these two big planes. Furthermore, the divine power of the two big heaven realms is also prohibited from interacting with these two big planes. If you violate this, it will be either you or me who will fall. Do you understand? Understood. Ziyao indifferently looked at Xiyan, then her figure slowly disappeared. The Eastern Heaven Realm gods behind her also disappeared one by one, as if they had never been here. Xiyan looked at the two spirit mountains again, took a deep breath, and said, I hope the gods of the celestial pole continent will not disappoint me and the ruler. Alright, let's go back. Swoosh, 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 beams of light shot into the sky, and in the blink of an eye, all the angels in the sky disappeared. The two spirit mountains still remained in the sky, as if nothing had happened. What? In the palace in East Heaven, the 7 luminaries' demon emperor's astonished voice sounded. The Shattered Cauldron Realm and the Celestial Pole Continent have really merged. You even signed a divine covenant with Xiyan? Ziyao stood there quietly, her face full of grievance. If I didn't sign a divine covenant, I'm afraid the people I brought wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between Xiyan's teeth. The blazing angel-level gods of the Western Heaven Realm are indeed not simple. Xiyan's power is probably not much inferior to yours, Demon Emperor. Is that so? The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor was unconvinced and said, I've met Xiyan once, and she's not as strong as you say. It's just that, Ziyao, you've descended to the mortal world too much, affecting your cultivation. From now on, just focus on your cultivation. With that said, the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor's eyes surged with thick killing intent. Good, Western Heaven Realm, so insolent. Xiyan, a mere blazing angel, dares to look down on East Heaven. Just wait and see, sooner or later, I'll beat Xiyan until she cries out in pain and kneels on the ground begging for mercy. I'm not willing to be my concubine. What did you say? Ziyao asked softly. Although her voice was soft, it was full of murderous intent. The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor's body trembled. No, nothing. Didn't I say it? I'm not willing even if she wants to be my concubine. Ziyao snorted lightly. Dream on. Xiyan has been single for tens of thousands of years since she stepped into the god realm. She's known as the #1 goddess of the Western Heaven Realm. With your looks, you still want to take her as a concubine? You should wait for you to ascend and try. You is much more handsome than you. The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor was filled with grief and indignation. Are you even one of my people? Your elbow is almost touching the root of your thigh. Besides, that's just a superficial appearance. With my graceful temperament, I don't believe that Xiyan won't look at me. Unless you use the 7 glorious stars transformation to hit her, I don't think she will necessarily look at you. Ziyao said indifferently. The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor didn't care much about it. He rubbed his nose and said, I'm afraid that next will be trouble for that brat you. After signing the Divine Pact, we can't even send a divine oracle to you. Even if his telekinesis penetrates the plane, we might not be able to receive it. Whether the Shattered Cauldron Realm can escape this calamity depends on you, Feng Jixing, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi. Don't worry. Ziyao smiled slightly. This is also use cultivation. This is the test of fate. If he can't pass this, how can he become the supreme ruler of the god realm? Yes. Unknown alternate world. The dark land was barren. Only a little starlight shone down from the sky. The ground was full of barren wreckage. It was hard to tell whether it was the bones of animals or humans. Even the wild grass was black. It was probably because it hadn't been exposed to sunlight for a long time. Boom, boom. An intense shock came. A four-legged beast about 20 meters tall stepped over the barren mountain ridge. Its roar shocked the surroundings. This was a dog beast. It looked like a vicious dog, but its body was surrounded by layers of rocks. It was probably only in such a dangerous environment that such an ugly, clumsy beast could appear. The dog beast howled angrily. Probably because it had been hungry for too long, it opened its mouth and bit a fiery red rock. However, its luck was obviously not good. One of its teeth was directly knocked out. Woo-woo, the dog beast retreated a few steps. Suddenly, the sound of rushing wind came. Pooh! A steel arrow as thick as an arm directly penetrated the dog beast's head and shot out from its lower jaw. Instantly, the huge beast collapsed. Its skin burst open, revealing the stinking internal organs and blood. In the sky, a person was flying in the wind. Under the starlight, he frowned. Damn, another pile of smelly meat. How unlucky. Is there only one piece of fresh meat in the banished land? Chapter 7:15. The land of exile, as its name suggested, was a plain of exile. Those who could come to the land of exile were destined to be exiled evildoers. They were either villains or people who had offended the nobles. The land of exile was filled with ferocious beasts and countless experts, but only a few could walk out of the land of exile alive. The only thing that awaited the exiled was death. The only difference was when death would befall them. The expert who had shot the hound beast was a 3-meter-tall mutant. He wore a tattered robe and held a steel bow that was at least 2 meters long. His face was covered in dozens of scars, and the whirling wind under his feet allowed him to stand in the air, but it did not seem like he could stay that way for long. He had already forgotten his own name. If he had to give a name, it would be General Iron when he was exiled more than 20 years ago. However, the name General Iron seemed to have been abandoned by everything in the world. There were no human relationships in the land of exile. There was only slaughter, and people would give up their dignity and everything just to find food. General Tai landed on the ground and used his half-rotten leather boots to kick the hound beast's corpse. Immediately, black, rotting blood splattered everywhere. He pulled out the dagger at his waist and dug out a piece of the hound beast's flesh to take a sniff. A thick stench wafted over. F***ck. He tossed the rotten meat away and said angrily, "It's all rotten meat. I've been following it for an entire day. All my time has been wasted. I'm so angry." As he spoke, he flipped through the rest of the hound beast's meat. All of them were rotten. It was a disappointing hunt. Swoosh. Just as General Iron was flipping through the rotten meat, a blood-red light suddenly fell from the distance. Was that the light of the exiled? General Iron's memory was still very clear. He had brought this light to the land of exile all those years ago. That should be the exiled person, right? Human flesh works too. General Iron licked the corner of his lips. The last time he had eaten human flesh was not that long ago. Just half a month ago, it was a young man in his 20s. He was in the heavenly realm, but General Iron had killed him with a single palm strike. The flesh on his body was enough to last him for 10 days if it did not rot. Stepping on the ground, General Tai charged over as if he was flying, the dagger in his hand gleaming coldly. However, when General Iron arrived near the exiled people, he was stunned. There was a huge crater with thick smoke rising from it. At the center of the crater, there was a golden ball lying there quietly. The light it emitted would occasionally surge and then disappear. What is this? General Tai picked up the ball and did not find it scalding at all. Instead, it felt cool and refreshing. Moreover, a wave of vigorous light elemental energy flowed into General Tai's body through the ball. It was very stimulating. General Tai was taken aback. At this moment, the sphere suddenly disappeared with a flash, turning into streaks of light. The light gradually condensed into the figure of a girl around 5 years old. However, the girl's eyes were blood red as she stared at General Tai silently. "It's a doll. What the hell?" General Tai grunted coldly and said, "Kid, who are you? Why were you exiled here? Tell me the truth or I'll eat you. Understand?" The girl looked at General Tai in a daze. There was a hint of fear in her blood-red eyes as she asked, "Where is this?" "This is the banished land." "Tell me first." "For you." The girl stood there in a daze. After a few seconds, she still shook her head blankly. "I don't know who I am either." "Then why are your eyes blood-red?" General Tai squatted down and placed his dagger against the back of the girl's neck. As long as the girl made any movements, her head would be removed immediately. "I don't know either," the girl said blankly. General Tai's palm moved gently. He was searching for a gap in the girl's neck bones so that he could kill her in a single strike. In the decades he had spent in the banished land, he had gradually learned to turn killing into an art. Otherwise, how hard would it be to endure the years of decay? Just then, a cloud of smoke suddenly rolled over from the bushes in the distance. Strangely enough, the smoke did not rise up. Instead, it lay on the ground. General Tai hurriedly retreated a few steps with his dagger in hand. It was a fog beast. The fog beast was one of the most common wild beasts in the banished land, but it was also one of the most lethal enemies. The fog beast moved silently and was used to hiding in the fog at night to ambush its opponents. Its teeth were sharp and it could kill its enemies in a single strike. However, the girl frowned. Suddenly, as though she had gone berserk, the blood-red glow in her eyes intensified. She crawled on the ground and charged at the fog beast at lightning speed. Immediately, the fog scattered. The girl fought the beast in the fog. She was silent, but the fog beast let out a tragic cry that sounded like a cat's meow. In the blink of an eye, the fog dispersed. The girl was lying on the corpse of a fog beast that weighed about 50 kilograms. She opened her mouth and bit down on the fog beast's neck. General Tai actually felt a little timid at that moment. "What's wrong?" The girl opened her mouth, revealing a pair of bloody fangs. "How is this a girl?" She was more like a tiny demon. "You can sense the fog beast?" General Tai asked. "What's a fog beast?" The girl was confused. "This one." General Tai pointed at the fog beast's corpse on the ground. "Yes." The girl nodded. "I can smell his aura." "Is that so?" General Tai was very shocked. Regardless of what this girl was, the fact that she could sense the fog beast's aura proved that she was a natural hunter. There was nothing lacking in the land of exile except a hunter with a strong sense for danger. General Tai had almost been killed over the years precisely because he lacked this ability. Therefore, General Tai suddenly made up his mind. He lowered his body and placed his hands on the ground. Looking at the girl who was less than a meter tall, he said, "Little girl, since you don't know where this is, why don't you follow me? I'll give you food and protect you." The girl nodded, but she didn't seem happy or unhappy. She just nodded in agreement. General Tai grinned, revealing 2 rows of yellow teeth. He said, "Since you're following me, you have to call me Dad. How about it? You be my daughter and hunt the beasts in the land of exile for me. I'll be your dad and protect you from being bullied." The girl still nodded. General Tai was overjoyed. He grabbed the fog beast's legs and slung it over his shoulder. He said, "Then let's go home. This fog beast's meat is enough for us to eat for a week. We have to hunt the next prey within a week, or we'll starve. Right, what's your name?" "I don't have a name," the girl said. "Your eyes are red. In my hometown, there's a type of people with red eyes. We call them demon spirits. How about this? You should be a demon spirit too, and a small one at that. I'll call you Little Demon?" "Little Demon?" The girl was confused. "Then, I'll be called Little Demon?" "Yes, your name will be Little Demon." "I have a name." The girl finally revealed a hint of joy. "Yes, you have a name. Let's go home now." 2 figures, one big and one small, slowly moved under the starlight. The land of exile was very vast. It was said that no one had ever reached the end. No one knew what was at the end of the land of exile, but one thing was for sure. Every inch of the land of exile had an owner, also known as a lord. If one wanted to become the owner of a piece of land, they had to kill the previous owner, and then, most of the time, they would be eaten. The land of exile didn't grow food. Almost all the food came from the exiles who fell from the sky, as well as the evil beasts that lived there. However, most of the evil beasts in the land of exile were very strong and hard to deal with. Smart people would rather provoke their own kind than wild beasts. General Tai's territory wasn't big. It was less than 5 kilometers wide. Beyond that was a dangerous region, so General Tai only hunted invaders in his own territory. Because his territory was too small, it was normal for General Tai to not be able to hunt for food for half a month. Now that he had this little demon, General Tai couldn't help but feel happy. With little demon's help, hunting wild beasts shouldn't be a problem. If little demon could easily kill a fog beast, then killing other wild beasts shouldn't be too difficult. Even if he couldn't kill them, General Tai wouldn't suffer any losses. Plus, he could eat the fresh meat of a girl. In the small cave, General Tai lived a life of barbecuing meat. However, he only cut off a small portion of the fog beast's hind leg. It weighed about 2 kilograms. He ate 2 kilograms, and little demon ate half a kilogram. That should be enough. Looking at her small body, she shouldn't be able to eat much. Before long, the fragrance of meat wafted out. The girl sat on the meadow and finally snapped out of her reverie. She immediately looked straight at the roasted meat on the wooden stick. She didn't say a word and only looked at it calmly. The corner of her mouth revealed a cute fawn, as though General Tai would fly into a rage if he didn't give him food. "Are you hungry?" General Tai asked with a smile. "Yes." The girl replied emotionlessly. "Come." General Tai cut off a piece of meat. The girl finished it in 2 or 3 bites and didn't find it too hot. "It can't be." General Tai was dumbfounded. He cut off another piece of meat and the girl finished it in 2 or 3 bites. Therefore, General Tai ate less than half a kilogram of meat out of the 5 kilograms. He had no choice but to change his plans. Given the little demon's appetite, he had to kill a new prey within 3 days or he would starve. Starlight shone on the edge of the cave as the bonfire flickered its last bit of light. The little demon fell into a deep sleep on the meadow. General Tai held a dagger in his hand and sharpened a sturdy wooden stick into an arrow. As he did so, he glared coldly at the girl. Chapter 716. Mingshan Province, Xiangyang City. This city, known as the trade center of the south, had regained its prosperity after several years of recuperation. Merchants and travelers were as numerous as the clouds and pedestrians weaved in and out. Within the city, merchant guilds, restaurants, grain stores, blacksmiths, and so on had been built. Moreover, Qin Yin's policy of subduing the world by force had been continued. Just within Xiangyang City alone, there were 7 sacred temples for martial artists to reside in. To the north of the city stood a towering camp that stretched for 10 miles. This was the Mingshan army that guarded Mingshan province. This Mingshan army was formed from the 55,000 troops of Qihai province that Xiang Yu had once commanded. Together with the recruits from the province, there was an army of 100,000 people. With these 100,000 people, it was enough to guard the southern border of the empire. The camp was adjacent to a mansion with green tiles and white walls. This was Duke of Southern Residence, where Xiang Yu lived. It was early spring, and the weather in the south was slightly warmer. The dozen or so peach trees in the courtyard were all in full bloom, and in the center of the courtyard, Xiang Yu stood there majestically, spear in hand. Golden air swirled around him. He was trying to break through to the 19th layer of heavenly abode, but it didn't seem to be going well. His brows were tightly furrowed, and his face was covered in sweat. "Husband." A figure walked over from the hall. It was Tang Wei, holding a towel. She was now a beautiful middle-aged woman, and the passage of time hadn't taken away her beauty. Instead, it added a bit of mature charm to her. She helped Xiang Yu wipe the sweat off his face and said, "Don't work too hard. If you can't break through today, then wait until tomorrow." Xiang Yu took a deep breath and continued to show tenderness on his face. "Little Wei, thank you. You're too courteous." Tang Wei giggled. She wet the towel in the basin carried by a maid, wrung it out, and gave it back to Xiang Yu. "Have you heard that Lin Muyu and Xiao Shi went to demon subduing pass? It said that they even facilitated the marriage between Marquis of Western Garrison Tangjin and the Saintess of the Demons, Ling Huyen. Yes, I've heard about it. Xiang Yu nodded. But little Wei, don't call the Qin king by his name in the future. He's now the Qin king of the empire. He's no longer that Lin Muyu. Humph. Tang Wei's face was filled with indignation as she said, he and Feng Jixing's hands are stained with the blood of our Tang family. This group of executioners, one by one, took over the power, and even created the so-called three kings ruling the world. Husband, if you hadn't taken advantage of the night to attack Iha country's capital city, Bai Ling City, would Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing be able to sit firmly on the throne? Alas, don't say any more. Xiang Yu frowned. However, Tang Wei continued, if Her Highness Ying didn't die, I'm afraid that my husband would have already become a marquis who controls half of the country. Why would he be assigned to this border city? There's nothing bad about Xiangyang City. It's an outstanding place with a beautiful landscape and clear waters. Besides, Xiangyang City is a prosperous city with prosperous trade. It's enough for us to live here without worrying about food or clothing. Husband, are you really satisfied with just a corner of the world? Tang Wei looked straight at Xiang Yu. Xiang Yu's eyes were filled with helplessness. He couldn't help but let out a sigh and said, times have changed. Back then, my cultivation was enough to rule Lanyan City, but what about now? Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Tang Xiaoxi, and the others have all surpassed me. In addition, Jin Yifan and Tang Lan have all lost their power. Now, it's Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing and Qin Yan's world. It's no longer the Qin family's world. Tang Wei smiled faintly and said, husband, there's a letter from outside the Eastern Sea. Are you willing to take a look? Outside the Eastern Sea? Let me see it. Yes. Tang Wei took out a letter that was almost crumpled. After Xiang Yu took the letter, he shot into the hall like lightning. After opening the letter and glancing through it, his heart was in turmoil. It was the handwriting of the Iha country's young lord, Qin Huan. The content was naturally an agreement with Xiang Yu to coordinate from within and without. They would first seize Lingkong province, then march into the other provinces of Lingnan and plant the Iha country's flag on this land again. Tang Wei walked in with large strides and asked, husband, what do you think? It was obvious that Tang Wei had already read this letter. Xiang Yu frowned and said, the Iha country has long since withered away. What power does it have to compete with the empire? Besides, I, Xiang Yu, am the descendant of the war god Xiang Wenin. How could I do such a shameful thing like colluding with the enemy and committing treason? As he spoke, Xiang Yu suddenly opened his palm and the letter was quickly shredded by his divine power. He looked at Tang Wei with a stern expression and shouted in a low voice, little Wei, you're too insensible. Do you know what the consequences of colluding with the Iha country are? You'll be hanged on top of the city gate. I hope you can learn to be smarter and stop doing such foolish things. I won't remind you of this a second time. You're on your own now. Xiang Yu turned around and left for the Mingshan army's camp. He left Tang Wei standing there alone, tears pouring out of her eyes. Tang Wei's body trembled as she murmured, Xiang Yu, have you forgotten that you're the Tang family's son-in-law? Is the Tang family's enmity not your enmity? How can you be the enemy's dog and ignore your grandfather's unjust death? Xiang Yu, since you're heartless, don't blame me for being unjust. Behind her, a black-robed attendant floated out like a ghost. He was about 50 years old and had a weathered face. He said respectfully, Princess Wei, are you calling for this subordinate? Tang Wei's beautiful eyes were filled with killing intent as she said, how's the preparation of the magic crystals? We've refined about 150 kilograms of magic crystal coins. 3 brave warriors are willing to sacrifice themselves for the 7 Seas Tang sect. As long as Princess Wei gives the order, we're willing to do anything. Good, that's great. Tang Wei turned around to look at him and said, Tang Xian, you're one of grandfather's people. Now that the enemy is right in front of you, Feng Jixing will lead light cavalry to Xiangyang City to patrol the Mingshan province in 3 days. You'll blend into the crowd and activate the magic crystals while the people are kneeling to welcome Feng Jixing. I don't believe that the explosion of 150 kilograms of magic crystals won't be able to kill Feng Jixing, who's only at the first heaven of the divine state. Feng Jixing killed my second brother, so he must die. As she spoke, Tang Wei's delicate face became extremely hideous and twisted. Tang Xian cupped his fists and said, "I'll definitely obey Princess Wei's orders. However, if we do this, I'm afraid that the innocent people in Xiangyang City will be harmed. The explosion of a magic crystal weighing 150 kilograms will cause a shockwave of hundreds of meters. I'm afraid that tens of thousands of people will die because of us. Those who achieve great things don't bother about trifles. Why do you care about those commoners?" Tang Wei said coldly, "You just need to kill Feng Jixing. Once Feng Jixing dies, Lin Muyu will definitely vent her anger on the Mingshan province. I'll see if Xiangyu will rebel or not." Tang Xian nodded. "I'll do as you say." He wanted to say something but stopped. "Do you have anything else to say?" Tang Wei asked. Tang Xian looked straight at her and said, "I've followed Duke Lan for many years and have long regarded him as my father. As for you, I've been watching you since the day Princess Wei was born. Princess, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it." "Say it." "Using our strength to go against Prince Qin and Prince Xian's strength is no different from striking a rock with an egg. Princess Wei, you can imagine Princess Shi. She's now the princess of the supporting nation and maintains the relationship between the demon race, the savage tribe, and the empire. She can be said to be the mainstay of the empire and is loved by the people. Why can Princess Shi let go of her hatred but Princess Wei can't? Because Xiao Shi isn't a member of the Tang clan." Tang Wei's expression became very resentful and said, "Grandfather is dead, but Xiao Shi can sit by and do nothing. How can she be considered a member of the Tang clan?" Tang Xian was stunned and said, "In order to help Duke Lan take revenge, Princess Shi killed Empress Qinin. Is this considered sitting by and doing nothing? But she allowed Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu to wantonly occupy the throne. What does this mean? Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu were personally conferred the title of the four heroes of Lan Yan by the late Emperor Qin Jin. Lin Muyu was even treated by Qin Jin as his own daughter. As Qin Yin's elder brother, why can't he take over the throne on her behalf? Princess Wei, you're also a member of the Tang clan's bloodline. I'm truly unwilling to see this line of bloodline come to an end of mutual destruction." As he spoke, Tang Xian slowly knelt down and said, "This is all this old general has to say. But as long as Princess Wei wants old general to kill Feng Jixing, old general will definitely disregard my life and do it. This is the favor I owe Duke Lan." Tang Wei's delicate body trembled, and she lowered her body to help Tang Xian up and said, "Uncle Tang Xian, little Wei only requests that you kill Feng Jixing this time and take revenge for Tang Lu. As long as Feng Jixing is dead, the Tang clan will have a new chance to take a turn for the better." "Yes, old general obeys." Tang Xian stood up, and his eyes were filled with despair. His back view that turned around and left looked especially aged. Regardless of whether he succeeded or not, he would definitely not be able to return once he left. Swish! The arrow that was carved from hardwood flew past the back of the Radiance Beast. The arrowhead wasn't sharp enough and was actually unable to penetrate the back of the Radiance Beast that was covered in thick armor and thorns. "Little Yao, hurry up and attack. Kill it, and it will be our next food." Holding the longbow, General Tai rapidly retreated, increasing the distance between him and the Radiance Beast. The Radiance Beast roared angrily because it was attacked. The thorns on its body stood up, and it bared its teeth as it pounced over. This kind of Radiance Beast was very common in the land of exile. Its skin was very hard, and ordinary blades and swords wouldn't be able to pierce through it. What was more troublesome was that the Radiance Beast's body was covered in thick thorns that were abnormally sharp. Furthermore, these thorns carried venom. Therefore, the majority of the wild beasts that fought with the Radiance Beast would still die from poison even if they could kill it. Although the Radiance Beast was terrifying, the freshness of its meat was rare in the entire land of exile. It was the most delicious when cooked into soup. The girl crawled in the grass. Her pair of beautiful blood-colored pupils were filled with hostility. Suddenly she charged forward. With a loud bang, her beautiful face almost slid across the ground, directly knocking the Radiance Beast upside down. The Radiance Beast's abdomen was soft and tender, so it didn't have any prickles. Before the Radiance Beast could react, the girl spread open her 5 fingers, and a dense blood-colored aura directly tore open the Radiance Beast's abdomen, almost tearing out its intestines. Roar! The Radiance Beast struggled and roared. Its huge body suddenly flipped over, and its sharp claws swept across, instantly leaving behind stab wounds on the girl's cheeks and shoulders. Chapter 717. Swoosh! The Radiance Beast opened its huge mouth, and its crescent-shaped fangs went straight for the girl's neck. If it were to bite down, the girl's neck would probably be bitten off forcefully. At the moment of life and death, the girl seemed to be injected with some kind of power. Her hands danced wildly, clawing the Radiance Beast's abdomen into mush. She flipped over and opened her small mouth. Her fangs glowed with a blood-red light as she bit down heavily on the Radiance Beast's neck, tearing off a piece of flesh. Then she quickly took a second bite. Just like that, bite after bite continued until the Radiance Beast's throat was bitten into mush. Meanwhile, the girl was already covered in blood, looking battered and exhausted. The Radiance Beast lay quietly on the ground, losing all signs of life. At this moment, its greatest value was nothing more than 100 kilograms of meat. To everyone in the land of exile, this was an extreme delicacy. Russell. General Tai held his longbow and walked forward. His gaze landed on the Radiance Beast and said, "Little Yao, well done. You actually managed to kill this Radiance Beast. Father is very gratified." The girl's body was a little frail. The wound on her neck that was pierced by the prickles was gradually turning black. That was the result of the Radiance Beast's venom invading her body. She trembled slightly and looked at General Tai without saying a word. General Tai raised his hand and grabbed the Radiance Beast's thornless tail. He dragged it backward and patted the girl's head. "Let's go. Father will make you a delicious Radiance Beast soup when we get back." This time, the girl nodded. She understood General Tai's words. Just like that, General Tai dragged the Radiance Beast's corpse and walked in front while the girl followed behind. Her body trembled with every step. Her stamina seemed to have reached its limit. General Tai didn't even turn his head and kept walking forward. Bang! A few minutes later, there was a loud sound and a flower of blood bloomed on General Tai's shoulder. That was a wound caused by an iron marble. Immediately, the Radiance Beast in his hand fell to the ground. General Tai slumped to the ground and looked at a figure walking over from afar. This person held a pitch-black iron rod in his hand. One end was still emitting green smoke. The corner of his mouth curled up, revealing an evil smile. "Yo, isn't this General Tai? What? Your body of steel was actually pierced through by my elemental spear, huh?" He looked to be around 40 years old, and his face was fierce-looking. After walking forward, he raised his hand and grabbed the corpse of the Radiance Beast, saying, "So it's a Radiance Beast. Not bad, not bad. Oh, what a pity, General Tai. You won't be able to eat this Radiance Beast, but you're very lucky. After I finish eating this Radiance Beast, your flesh will become my next meal." General Iron's face was pale as he gnashed his teeth and said, "Black Fiend, I've never invaded your territory. But why did you trespass into my territory?" "What are you talking about?" Black Spear smirked coldly. He raised the elemental spear in his hand and pointed the pitch-black muzzle at General Tai's head. Streams of lightning energy gathered in the butt of the spear from his arm before being stored in the bullet. He said, "This is the land of exile, not anyone's territory. Have you forgotten the rules of the land of exile? Never be careless. You were careless just now. To think that you didn't notice my arrival." General Tai knew that his death was imminent, so he could only place all his hopes on someone else. He said in a low voice, "Little Yao, he's trying to kill father." Kill him. What? Black Spear turned to look at the girl and could not help but laugh out loud. "General Tai, I didn't expect you to have fallen to such a state. What else can this little girl do other than being a stew or two? However, Black Spear's pupils suddenly constricted in the next moment. The girl had suddenly disappeared, and in the next moment he felt a sharp pain on his neck. He hurriedly swung his spear to attack the girl who was pouncing on his chest. However, it was too late. When the girl raised her head, she was biting a large piece of flesh on Black Spear's neck, causing blood to splatter. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Black Spear stumbled a few steps back and fell to the ground. His body twitched continuously. He had actually been killed by the girl. Hold on. Ha! General Tai stood up in a wretched manner. He grabbed the Radiance Beast's tail with one hand and Black Spear's ankle with the other. Even though he was injured, he still dragged the two prey back to his lair with great difficulty. The girl watched on in a daze. She did not seem to understand why this father of hers had to drag Black Spear's corpse home. Night fell. The night in the Banished Land was filled with killing and death. Therefore, unless one possessed extraordinary strength, they would not be willing to go out to hunt at night. Clearly, General Tai was not someone who was confident in his own strength. A charred iron pot was propped over the bonfire, and the water inside gurgled. General Tai had cut 5 kilograms of the Radiance Beast's meat and placed it into the pot. There was no seasoning, but it was definitely an incomparably delicious meal. However, to General Tai's surprise, the girl only ate a small piece of the Radiance Beast's meat and stopped eating. She lay curled up on the meadow as black blood seeped out from the wounds on her neck and shoulder. The Radiance Beast's venom was taking effect. Her body twitched violently and trembled. This was the result of hunting the Radiance Beast. General Tai gulped down the meat as he turned to look at the girl. He could not help but frown as he thought to himself, "It can't be that she's finished so quickly, right? If that's the case, I'll have to find a new assistant." It was not until the next morning that the girl finally woke up. The black blood on her neck had been replaced by fresh red blood. She sat up timidly and stuck out her tongue to lick her palm. Then she covered her wound with her palm. As if by instinct, a miraculous scene happened. The bleeding from her wounds stopped very quickly. Her saliva seemed to have extraordinary uses, and General Tai, who was in a deep sleep, did not seem to notice this at all. When it was close to noon, General Tai finally woke up. He took out the iron marble that had been shot into his shoulder by the elemental spear. After using a cotton cloth to staunch the bleeding, he simply bandaged the wound. In the Banished Land, the word medical treatment was very unfamiliar. It was fine as long as one did not die. There was no way to talk about healing injuries. On the other hand, the girl's appetite seemed to have grown a lot. She had eaten close to 5 kilograms of the Radiance Beast's meat for lunch. General Tai frowned. At this rate, he would have to go out hunting again soon. He took out his dagger and dug out a large piece of meat from the leg of Black Spear's corpse. He mixed it with the Radiance Beast's meat and tossed it into the pot to continue cooking. If one wanted to survive in the Banished Land, one had to conserve one's stamina. Only then would one be able to survive the upcoming battles. This was the law of survival in the Banished Land, and General Tai understood it very well. After a night, the girl's injuries were almost completely healed. What surprised General Tai the most was that the girl seemed to have grown a lot. Her height had increased by at least 3 to 5 centimeters. It was as if such growth had happened overnight. This also explained why her appetite was so terrifying. "Perhaps I'll grow stronger when I grow up?" General Tai chuckled. The girl did not understand what General Tai was talking about. She only continued to eat the meat in her bowl and picked out Black Spear's flesh one by one. She only ate the Radiance Beast's meat and did not seem too interested in human flesh. General Tai looked displeased. Thankfully, he was not a picky eater. Black Spear was an old enemy. Eating his flesh gave General Tai a strange, twisted sense of pleasure. Lowering his head to look at the wound on his shoulder, General Tai said, "When my injuries have recovered, we can go to the hunting grounds to try our luck. Perhaps, we might be able to kill 1 or 2 triceratops." Of course, the girl did not know what a triceratops was. She only asked, Is it delicious?" General Tai laughed out loud. Delicious, of course it's delicious. However, the Triceratops is also very powerful. Its third horn can discharge electricity. Over the past few decades, countless people have died to the Triceratops' electric horn. So, my dear daughter, we must be careful. Okay. The girl nodded. She did not know what a Triceratops was, but it would be great if she could eat meat. As the days passed, General Tai discovered that the demon spirit's senses and strength were rapidly improving. Her movements were becoming more and more sensitive, and her ability to sense unknown dangers was also rapidly improving. There were even a few times when she had already launched an ambush before her prey had even appeared. She managed to kill the wild beasts almost without suffering any injuries. None of the wild beasts in the banished land were easy to deal with. General Tai knew this better than anyone. He began to worry day by day. What would he do if he could not control this demon spirit one day? He had to make a good plan for himself. General Tai silently lowered his head to look at the girl. He discovered that she had already grown to be around 7 or 8 years old. She held a dagger with a cold glint in her hand, sharpening an arrow. Her gaze was focused, as if there were only daggers and wooden sticks in the world. Little Yao, do you know what Daddy means? General Tai suddenly asked. The girl did not raise her head. Daddy means that I'm the most important person in this world to you. You must protect me and treat me as the person you love the most. You must not let anyone hurt me, and I will also protect you. I won't let anyone bully you. If anyone bullies you, I will kill him. Do you understand now? General Tai patiently guided her. If anyone bullies me, Daddy will kill him, right? The girl finally raised her head to look at him. General Tai felt gratified. He nodded repeatedly and said, "But first, you must protect Daddy well. Do you understand?" The girl lowered her head and continued to carve the wooden stick. She was so focused, as if she had completely forgotten about the conversation earlier. Sigh, General Tai sighed. A blood moon appeared in the sky, causing the already blood-red land of Banished to become even darker. Chapter 7:18. What exactly is Ashura? Under the starry sky, Lanyan City was exceptionally quiet. Not far from the city, the national monument was even quieter. Countless warriors who had sacrificed their lives for the empire were buried under the huge stone tablets. Lin Muyu was lying on his back under a stone tablet, his hands supporting the back of his head. He looked up at the starry sky and suddenly asked this question. After returning to Lanyan City, he would come here almost every day to accompany Chu Huayin, Qin Lei, Lei Hong, and the others in front of the tombstones. It was good to talk, otherwise he would feel suffocated. Shura, Tang Xiaoxi was wearing a dark blue cloak. She sat on a tree trunk at the side, her legs swaying in the cold wind. She said, "Actually, I'm not too sure, but it sounds very powerful." Shura is a hunter in the dark, a natural hunter. It's recorded in the ancient books, but it seems that no one has ever seen Ashura. Lin Muyu pursed her lips and said, "I don't know how Xiao Yin is now. If only we could know which plane she is in, we could go find her and help her get through this." Tang Xiaoxi smiled faintly. "Xiao Yin must have lost her memory now. She doesn't know you at all. If you interfere, she might beat you up. Alright, if you want to know where Xiao Yin is, maybe you can ask for help from the God Realm. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and Xiao Fairy can help us." "No, the Demon Emperor told me in my dream last night. He said that Xiao has signed a divine pact with a blazing angel called Shiyen from the Western Heaven Realm and can no longer help us. He didn't say anything else. He said that he was afraid of activating the divine pact and causing Xiao to lose all her cultivation. In any case, he told us to be careful." "I see." Tang Xiaoxi pouted and said, "Then what should we do? Are we just going to wait like this? I wonder how Xiao Yin is doing now. She must have suffered a lot by herself." Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. "Xiao Yin has already tasted the bitterness and humiliation of the 3 realms in the 6 paths of reincarnation. My chest hurts when I think of her suffering in some unknown place. Xiao Shi, my heart aches for her." Tang Xiaoxi fell into silence for a few seconds before she muttered, I also feel sorry for Xiao Yin. It's all my fault. If you want to blame someone, blame the demon tribe. If Yaoji of the demon tribe hadn't controlled your mind, Xiao Yin wouldn't have ended up like this. As she spoke, Lin Muyu clenched her fists and said, within a year, I'll definitely wipe out the devil race completely from the continent. Tang Xiaoxi was slightly surprised. Mu, are you serious? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. We have to be decisive. Otherwise, leaving the devil race in the Tongtian Gorge will always be a big problem for us. The demon emperor told me to be careful. There must be other strong enemies. Before the strong enemies come, we must first wipe out the devil race and unify the entire continent. Xiao Yin, the Seven Seas Tang sect has been rebuilt. What are your plans for the future? The Seven Seas Tang sect has Tang Zone. I've already imparted all of the fire god's seal to him. I believe that with Tang Zong's comprehension, he'll have great achievements in 3 to 5 years. The Tang sect won't need me then. I want to be with you and wait for Xiao Yin to return. Lin Muyu suddenly smiled, and then stay by my side. I was worried that you said you'd stay in Seven Seas City. If that's the case, I'll miss you. I'll have to fly for a long time just to see you. Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but feel flustered. She smiled sweetly and said, Really? Lin Muyu didn't look at her. She continued to look at the sky and said, I'm not a plant. When I was in the Nether Spring realm, I already thought that if I love someone, I should treat them with all my heart. I'm a person with the sovereign persona. Since I was lucky enough to awaken the sovereign persona, then I'm also lucky enough to have you and Xiao Yin. Aren't you afraid that Xiao Yin will be jealous? Tang Xiaoxi asked carefully, afraid that his answer wouldn't satisfy her. Lin Muyu took a different approach and said, I'll thank the heavens if you're not jealous. I'm not worried about Xiao Yin. What kind of person do you think I am? I'm saying that because I didn't misjudge you. In the distance, a group of royal guards dressed in the armor of the royal guards were waiting. They watched the young man lying on the nation-guarding monument that was revered by the world. If it was anyone else who dared to be so disrespectful, they would have been dragged out and beheaded. However, the person in front of them was the Qin Emperor, Lin Muyu. He was the person who turned the tide. Furthermore, he had such a close relationship with Chu Huaying and Qin Lei when they were alive. Presumably, the 2 of the 4 heroes of Lan Yen who had died for the country wouldn't blame him for anything. Early in the morning, amidst the rumbling sounds of nooses, Shangyang City's north gate was opened. Countless commoners who were waiting to head out to farm or hunt filed out of the city. When it was close to noon, a group of royal guards appeared and sealed the city gate, preventing commoners from entering. There was no other reason for this. One of the empire's 3 kings, Feng Jixing, was going to arrive very soon. Outside the city, the flags of the empire's purple Yinghua flower and Prince Xian were intertwined. The number of people Feng Jixing had brought with him was not a lot, but it was not a small number either. There were 500 light cavalry troops accompanying him, and their extravagance was far from that of some dukes and marquises. After all, Feng Jixing had stepped into the divine realm a long time ago, and a forged celestial lattice had allowed his abilities to multiply. Now that he had obtained 2 divine weapons that were substandard divine weapons, it was clear that his abilities had improved by leaps and bounds. There was no need for him to worry about being assassinated. A row of cavalry troops opened up a path at the front. They held onto wooden shields, and all of them wore solemn expressions. After the 200 cavalry troops entered the city, a big horse finally galloped into the city. It was Feng Jixing, who had been waiting for a very long time. He felt very vexed at having to rely on the nobility, but those officials said that this was a rule passed down from their ancestors and that they could not go against it. Therefore, he could only put up with all of this. Following behind the cavalry troops, Feng Jixing wore a set of light gray armor and golden battle robes. Having stepped into the divine realm, he appeared even more handsome and handsome, causing the commoners in the city to be stunned. Then, should we believe in Prince Feng Jixing? He's so handsome, it's no wonder that such a character can eliminate the traitors of Peace Country. I wonder when Prince Xian will be choosing his concubine. I'm so excited. With Feng Jixing's ability, he was naturally able to hear the commoners' whispers. However, he pretended that he did not hear them. His left hand held onto the reins while his right hand held onto the hilt of the Crimson Phoenix sword. He wore a relaxed smile on his face as he kept on greeting the commoners on both sides of the road. Feng Jixing was only tempted by the matter of choosing his concubine, but he would definitely not act on it. He knew why he had come to Xiangyang City this time around. Xiangyu was the southern country duke, a feudal lord. Therefore, Feng Jixing would definitely make a trip to the south once a month to meet with Xiangyu. He would have a drink or two with him and chat about some trivial matters regarding the empire and Lanyan City, using this to probe Xiangyu's heart. Feng Jixing knew that if Xiangyu were to create trouble in the south, the empire would probably sink into another internal strife. Lin Muyu did not have the time to deal with such public relations. Therefore, Feng Jixing could only trouble Prince Xian. In the city, a group of guards went up to welcome them. Right in front was a general who wore 2 golden general stars. After getting off his horse, he knelt by the roadside and said respectfully, "I'm Xiangyang City's military superintendent commander, Lu Hao. I'm a country protector general and have been sent by the southern country duke to escort Prince Xian to the Mingshan army's headquarters." General Lu Hao, it's been hard on you. Get up and lead the way." "Yes, Your Highness." Lu Hao got on his horse and gave the order, "Turn the horses around and invite Prince Xian to the central camp." The cavalry was about to move forward when a commotion suddenly rang out. Feng Jixing quickly looked over and asked, "What's going on?" A captaincy said, "I don't know. It seems that someone wants to petition." Petition? Feng Jixing was stunned. The word petition had a long history. It was a way for commoners to express their wishes to the upper echelons. There were probably people who knew that today was the day Prince Xian would come to Xiangyang City. Therefore, there were people who wanted to petition. Since he was not in a hurry to head to the central camp, Feng Jixing waved his hand and said, "Let whoever wants to petition in." Very soon, an elderly man came to the front of the cavalry under the protection of 2 guards. He quickly knelt down and said, "Your Highness, my name is Zhou Yang. I make a living selling medicine in the north of Xiangyang City. A few days ago, a group of people came and smashed up my medicine shop, snatching away many expensive medicinal herbs and causing me to go bankrupt. I went to the magistrate's office to lodge a complaint, but no one paid any attention to it. Your Highness, please seek justice for me." Feng Jixing turned around and dismounted from his horse. He helped the old man up and said, "Elder, please get up. Tell me, who was the one who smashed and robbed your medicine shop? I'll help you get justice." "It's someone from the Tang clan. It's Tang Wei's distant cousin, someone called Tang Wu." "Tang Wu?" Feng Jixing frowned and said, "Elder, please return home first. I'll send someone to investigate this matter. Don't worry, we'll definitely seek justice for you." "Thank you, Your Highness." The elderly man turned to leave. However, he had only taken a few steps when his body suddenly trembled and he fell down in astonishment. Fresh blood had soaked through his clothes from his chest, and an arrow could be faintly seen piercing through his head. He had been shot dead. "Who is it?" Feng Jixing was enraged. He raised his hand and pulled out the Crimson Phoenix, bellowing, "Who dares to kill the innocent before me?" The crowd on both sides panicked. A few burly men dashed out while carrying black cloth in their hands. They were also holding onto crystals that were flashing with electricity. Those were the energy crystals used to detonate the magic crystal cannons. Feng Jixing had participated in the development of the magic crystal cannons and naturally knew about these. However, how was he to leave now? There were at least 10,000 people in the entire Xiangyang City's North Square. If he were to leave, these people would all be sending themselves to their deaths. This bunch of B***stards. Feng Jixing mumbled. Boom, boom, boom. Purple light soared into the sky. The explosive prowess of the magic crystals was no small matter, and the square seemed to have been vaporized in an instant. The people in the core zone had no time to escape, and their bodies were instantly vaporized. A mushroom cloud soared into the sky, and the prowess of the explosion swept out in all directions, turning the houses and city walls into dust. Buzz, a shock wave continued to impact into the city. In the core zone, Feng Jixing stood in the deep pit, surrounded by a solid windshield. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked into the distance and bellowed furiously, "B*****, I'm going to kill you." In a corner several hundred meters away, a middle-aged guard silently looked into the distance and mumbled, "Princess Wei, forgive me for my incompetence. If I can't kill Feng Jixing, I won't be able to repay you. I can only die." He slowly drew out his dagger. Pa pa pa, a bolt of lightning flashed before him. It was Feng Jixing. He had already heard Tang Xian's prayer through his psyche power. Tang Xian took a few steps back. Feng Jixing gritted his teeth and looked at him. "Is it Tang Wei?" "Aye." Tang Xian didn't say anything. Feng Jixing's overwhelming aura surged towards him, and he had no way to defend himself. His spirit was instantly crushed, which meant that he had admitted it. The Crimson Phoenix waved its hand, and Tang Xian's body instantly turned into a pile of dust. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.